Hello, everyone. Boy, there you are. It's so good. It really makes me happy to come on YouTube and people are already there in Facebook, waiting for the program to come on. Thank you so much for wanting to be there. That really makes my heart glad because you know something, friends, when you listen into the six screens, and you listen to all these YouTubes, I have to tell you something. You watch the YouTubes and they're great. They're doing a wonderful job exposing the Watchtower. But what I wanted to say is when you listen to the six screens, you're more than just an audience. You're a community. We have a community here at the six screens, and we want to have you come into it. So we really encourage people to call in, and you see the telephone number. It's scrolling across the bottom of Facebook. It's scrolling across the bottom of YouTube. And we want you to be part of the community. We have open arms, so to speak. We want you to speak up. And you know, when you speak up here on the six screens, you are doing the world a favor. Not only are you telling the world about your concerns of the Watchtower organization, but you are also letting people who are just getting out of the organization. Right now, we have like 4 million PMOs. That's what we estimate. 4 million PMOs. That is people who are physically in the Watchtower, but mentally out. We talk about it all the time. And just in case you're a new listener, that is an acronym. PMO, physically in, mentally out. What that means is as many Jehovah's Witnesses, they're going to the meetings. They're going out in service. They're going to the conventions, but they don't believe it anymore. They're afraid to really step out. And some of them have really good reasons. So I'm not saying everybody's going to step out, but we have so many people that listen into our program that are still PMOs. And if you're one of them, one of these days when the timing is right, you don't have to do it tonight, but when the timing's right, you can step out. Now, we do have a voice changer here. If you want to call in tonight and you say, oh, no, I don't want anyone to hear my voice, well, let me know that. We'll put you on the voice changer so that you don't have to have your voice recognized. Because a lot of people, I'm going to tell you something. There's more people in the ex-witness world that are schizo. I mean, not full-blown schizophrenics, but they're a little paranoid, and rightfully so. They're a little concerned about speaking up because they're afraid someone might hear them and report them. So, you know, if you have the courage and you can muster it up, come in tonight. Come in tonight. We'd love to have you. We really would. And we're getting new ones coming in every single week. Well, let's see. I'm Rick Farron, in case you don't know. I am I suppose you could say the CEO of Six Screens Telenetwork. I mean, that could be a title. You could say I'm a web host of the Six Screens of the Watchtower. I'm a podcaster. You can call me what you want, but I know what the witnesses call me. They call me an apostate. Do they call you an apostate? Well, I was just to give you an idea. I was kicked out of Satan's organization back in 2005 for apostasy. Yeah, apostasy. Now, let me tell you about apostasy. That's a pretty high-ranking crime in the world of the Jehovah's Witnesses. And that's even worse. I have to tell you, I'm not kidding one bit. If you're an apostate, now according to the Elders book, the Shepherding the Flock book, the newest edition even, what it says in there that gives a definition of an apostate. Do you know what the definition is? Now, what they say is an apostate is a person who is standing aside from the teachings of the Watchtower. Are you standing aside from the teachings of the Watchtower? Well, if you are, by definition, you're an apostate. So, you know, we use that word in a vernacular way. And you say, well, what do you mean by that? Well, you know, we use some of the Jehovah's Witness jargon here because everyone, for the most part, it's a niche network. And for the most part, everyone that listens into the six screens, were at one time a Jehovah's Witness. So we understand what an apostate is. Now, this is one of the things I get a lot of people criticize me for. They says, Rick, we're not apostates. Stop using the word apostate. I'm sorry, but I can't think of another word. Can you? Now, I've had people write me and say, Rick, why don't you say that why don't you just say that we're freedom fighters? Well, I suppose you could say that. Yeah, we are freedom fighters. I had another person write me just a couple weeks ago, Rick, don't use the word apostate. Use the word truth seeker. Well, I'm a truth seeker. I believe you're a truth seeker, but I kind of like the word apostate. I really do, because it gets right to the point. And I'll tell you what, apostasy, as I was just saying, if you were accused of apostasy in the Jehovah's Witness religion, that is the worst crime, sin, call it what you want, that you could possibly commit in the Watchtower. That is worse. I mean, now just sit down, relax, but I'm going to tell you, that's a bigger sin than a pedophile. A pedophile they get a little bit of cozying once in a while. They hide them. They, in fact, even let the pedophiles even go door to door. They let the pedophiles even be unknown to the congregation. But an apostate, holy mackerel! They will tell everyone, Rick Farron is an apostate. Stay away from him. And let's go with some of the highest crimes in the land. How about a rapist? How about a murderer? Is an apostate treated worse than them in the organization? You better believe they are. They really, really are. An apostate is it. As a matter of fact, it's just not me saying this, friends. The Watchtower said it. If you go all the way back to 1951, the November 1951 Watchtower edition, study edition, it talked about what you could do to an apostate. Now, I know 1951 was 74 years ago. Yeah, 74 years ago. So, yeah, I believe it was. I'm trying to do a quick math here, but yeah, I believe, well, more than that. Let's see. But I'm not with my math tonight. But anyways, in 1951, well, that would have been 70-something years, 74 years ago. All right, so 74 years ago, the Watchtower told the witnesses what they could do to an apostate. They said that if the laws of the land allowed, they could kill you. That's true, folks. You're probably saying, Rick, you're making that up. No, I am not. If the laws of the land, in fact, I was so shocked to read that in the Watchtower that I actually went down and talked to a congressman right here in Massachusetts. His name is Peter Lynch. He's a congressman in Massachusetts. He still is. So I went down in 2000, I believe it was 2004 or 5, and I met with him. I spent 3 hours with him, and I told him about how the Watchtower really hates people who leave the organization. And I showed him the article from that November 51 Watchtower. He made a copy of it, and he says, Rick, he says, would you want to come to Washington and testify before a congressional hearing? Now, who wouldn't want to do that? If you're listening to this program, wouldn't you want to be before a congressional hearing in Washington to spill the beans on the Watchtower? I think you would be, right? You'd say, Rick, I'd love to do that. So he says, Rick, what I want you to do, he called me Mr. Farron, actually. He says, Mr. Farron, what I want you to do, I want you to get some people that have really been touched or hurt by the Watchtower. And I want you to have them write a summary that they can prepare and present it to the congressional hearing when they're asked questions. Can you do that, Mr. Farron? I sure can. So I got a couple of people. Mark Paulo. Okay, Mark Paulo was one of them. You hear me speak about him. He was a friend of mine. He died. He's not living now. But Mark Paulo, well, he was raped. At least he claimed he was raped by Leo Greenlees, a governing body member. And what Mark Paulo, he says, Rick, I'll come to Washington with you. I'll write a summary, which he did. And the government was evidently going to fit the bill. They were going to have us go down there, put us up, take care of us. And they wanted to talk to all of us about the Watchtower organization. Now, wouldn't that make you excited? Wouldn't you be excited to do that? Well, somehow, some way, somebody put the kibosh to it. Yep, nope, somebody did. It never happened. It never happened. Boy, you want to talk about a big disappointment. I'm 78 years old, and there's been disappointments in my life, just like there's been disappointments in your life. But that was one of the biggest disappointments. I didn't cry over it, but boy, was I really kind of disappointed. I really thought that was going to be wonderful to be able to expose these bums. But so much for that. But the good news is there's so many countries right now that are coming down on the Watchtower. They are really, I counted 12, Belgium, Norway, Slovakia, Japan, did I say Belgium? France is another one. No, well, there's a bunch of them. I can't even think of them all right now, but there was a bunch of them. We go over it, and it's so good to see so many countries that are coming down on the Watchtower right now. But let's just focus on Japan. Did you hear what took place in Japan this week? Well, it might even be one of the reasons why the Watchtower has taken a different position on going to college. Yes, indeed. On October 25th, I'm sorry, starting in October, so somewhere around the 1st of October, 2025, Japan is going to enforce a new child abuse law. This could be why the Watchtower is changing their position on college. But I got some other reasons too, but let's just focus on this one. That could be it. Now, the new law on child abuse in Japan is specifically recognizing religious practices that really hurt children. Now, what are some of the things Japan wants to do? Well, like I say, starting October 1st, that's just a month away, right? If a child says that their Jehovah's Witness parents pressured them with Armageddon and threatens them to the point of the child is suffering today as they grow up, well, that's going to be a black mark against the witnesses, that they could be barred from even being a recognized religion in Japan. Now, another thing Japan is really clamping down on, now this is what I'm thinking. If a parent tries to stop a child from pursuing higher education, that could be dire consequences for the organization that is encouraging that. Up till now, has the Watchtower encouraged higher education? The answer to that is no. So could this be why? Because Japan is coming down on this? Hey, listen, you don't want to lose your religious recognition in a country. They've lost it in Norway. I mean, they can't do this. When you lose it in these countries, I mean, it's not the biggest thing in the world, but it can affect you. And also, the other thing here that the witness is going to be very careful with is Japan is saying if a child is denied medical care, I mean, blood transfusions, is that considered medical care? Of course it is. Japan is ticked off at the witnesses, and other religions too. Now, not just, transfusions, but other medical procedures that other religions don't want their followers to engage in. All right? Now, this is another thing. Japan's courts can restrict or deny visitation rights of parents. Now, we know what the witnesses do. if you ever have been involved in a custody case, if you got divorced from a Jehovah's Witness spouse and you wanted to be able to see the children on a regular basis, but the Jehovah's Witness spouse who's still entrenched in the Watchtower, they are going to make it very difficult. I mean, extremely difficult for you to even have any contact at all. So Japan's saying, no, none of that. So I like this. Do you like it? I like it because I can see the Watchtower sweating bullets here. I really, really can. So I'm just thinking, could that be the reason why the Watchtower is kind of stepping aside from discouraging education when you leave high school? I don't know. If anyone wants to speak up, go ahead. You're on with us. It's *6. I'd love to hear from you. What do you think? Would what I just suggested? And yes, go ahead. You're on with us.
I think it's a good thing that they're doing that in Japan, because the Japanese people are a peaceful people. I mean, if you notice, they don't have hardly any crime in their country. Their country is law-abiding citizens. And when you get a religion like Watchtower in there that breaks the laws, they deserve what they get, because they're doing damage to people. They're harming people by not allowing them to get medical treatments. They're harming people by telling them they can't go to college. I mean, if the Jehovah's Witnesses would really sit down and think, where did all of their technology that they use come from? If nobody went to college, we wouldn't have half of what we have right now. We'd all still be taking horses and buggies, you know? So the witnesses need to be appreciative of a college education. But see, they keep focusing on, oh, well, if you go to college, you're not going to go to meetings, you're not going to do this, you're going to be in with the world and all that stuff. But little do the witnesses know, that is the rank and file, that organization is extremely heavily involved in politics and the world.
Well, there you go, Donald. You got it. And we're going to be talking a little more about that tonight, how that involvement, Donald, is true. So I have to give kudos here to Japan. Now, let me tell you, Japan, they're dissolving these high religious control groups. They've already dissolved the Unification Church. Well, we know them as the Moonies, right? So Japan said, no, we don't want any Moonies. This is it. So under the Religious Corporations Act, they now declare them as fraudulent. Does a Watchtower want to get a label like that? I mean, we know they're fraudulent anyways, but do we want...
Oh, yeah.
But do we want... I mean, do they want... I shouldn't say we, but do they want to have these labels attached to them? I mean, at some point, the people in that organization, Donald, have got to wake up. I think you agree.
No. I mean, the rank and file witnesses, they're nice people, okay? But the organization makes them do what they do. I mean, the organization is the one that makes up all the rules and tells each person what they need to do, what they can or can't do. And they call that paradise, but yet what paradise has rules that says you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't go here, you can't see this person, can't go there. It's just all kinds of restrictions, and it's so restricted that's why half of them are on medications for mental anxiety and stuff. They're stressed. I mean, those people are totally stressed. They're always attending meetings. They're always needing to go out in service, and they tell you, and as you know, they tell you go out in service more, preach more. If you're having trouble, if a wife is having trouble with their husband, they'll tell her, go home, read more Watchtowers, go home, be a good wife, and all that stuff. When she's being abused, and they know it, they know she's being abused, but they don't want to face it. They don't want to deal with it. They just say, go read more Watchtowers, go out in service more. They think by doing more that's going to get rid of it, but it doesn't work that way.
Well, Donald, you're right on top of this stuff. And, it just leads me to believe, like everybody listening to this program, what's going to be next? We're going to talk about some of these changes, but I'm seeing here one of the positions Japan takes on these high religious control groups is medical refusal. Parents stepping in and saying, "No, I don't want medical treatment." Of course, blood transfusions comes to our mind. Now, we know even in I'd say the last 10 years, though the Watchtower really they've tried to get away from this idea of, everyone now can have a transfusion. They can't come out and say that because we all know the legal ramifications that would happen in the Watchtower world if they did that. But so what the Watchtower has, well, what the Watchtower has done.
The United States needs, you know what we need to do here in the U.S., Rick? They need to pass a law that under the age of 18, because you're 18, you're considered an adult, but under the age of 18, even the parents cannot force a child not to take a blood transfusion. They have to get one. Then once they turn 18, then that person can make their own decision. But below 18, that should fall under a different jurisdiction because, like you were saying, too many children are getting denied treatment, and it's because the parents use their religion for the child. The child might not even understand what the religion is. I mean, child may go to the Kingdom Hall and all that stuff, but he or she doesn't know all this highfalutin stuff that the Watchtower teaches. So, because they're a kid. So yet the parents step in and say, well, we don't want our kid taking blood because we're Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't think the government should allow for Jehovah's Witnesses to take their kids away from a blood transfusion. I think that should be done. I think they should pass a law on that.
Well, I'm with you. Hey, let's stay with us, Donald. Let's go to 615. What does 615 have to say? Go ahead.
Hey, Rick. How you doing?
Oh, Eric, hello.
Hey, yeah, I thought, or you would think that this announcement that happened would really, or hopefully it'll seriously start to put plant seeds in the minds of the people because, like our family members and stuff and our friends, because there's just too much that breaks at this point. I mean, like I don't know. I guess if they're after the new, just God forbid, someone in your house, went to college, it was like your sister got pregnant at 15 years old. And now it's okay. It's just, there's too many things that are changing at this point, and you've got to be a dummy to stand, or just somebody, or maybe not a dummy, but because that's just insulting, but like a yes man, because you just got to be somebody that likes to be controlled and like the idea of a product and just stay on it no matter what. And you're like, yeah, hey, you're like a seal, you clap and you're like, more please. I mean, the governing body updates are almost like, I don't mean to piss off people who love Marvel, the comic books, but the MCU is dead. And Star Wars and all of that, like basically a lot of things that they've just killed it and done it to death. And that's what Watchtower's done. They just killed everything and done it to death. And then they, on top of that, they're making all these changes to make themselves look ridiculous, really. I mean, think about it. You can have beards and you couldn't at one point. Like, aren't you a grown man? Aren't we grown women and adults? Isn't this proving that Watchtower is controlled our minds, and that's all this has ever been about? Is, hey, if we use Jehovah, right? If we use, there must be some power to God, to the name Jehovah. Like, for whatever reason, people are believing this to be God and to be His will. There must be some kind of power over it because people do it. I almost feel like the mafia, the Italian mafia, would just love to know, hey, what's your secret? Oh, you just gotta say, do it for Jehovah. Oh, this guy's gotta go, whack him, do it for Jehovah. I'm bringing a little comedy to this, but it's just, if anything from this change that's happened that's been big, I think it's encouraging for all of us because we know what's going on, and we know that this was all about control and had nothing to do with the Bible and the whole thing. But thanks, Rick. I don't mean to tie you up anymore.
Well, that's good. Well, thank you, Eric. Good to hear from you again. Yeah, it's really something, and you do mention the changes. Well, just for those listening in, you're probably saying, "Well, what changes have there been?" Well, let's just kind of review them here somewhat. Let me just get something up here and take a look at this. Let's just review some of the changes and what has been taking place here in the Watchtower in really the last not even 2 years, not a full 2 years, but say a year and a half. Well, beards are now we know beards, facial hair is now acceptable. We know that sisters can now wear slacks even to the meetings. You never could do that before out in service. Brothers are not required to wear ties anymore unless they are giving a part or handling the mics. Now, we just learned in the last couple of weeks here, higher education is now no longer looked down upon. It's now a personal matter. Not even the elders can persuade the individual to not go to a college or to go. They can't. Even if Elder Jones says, "Well, Rick, you really shouldn't go," don't listen to him. According to the governing body. In fact, I thought that even kind of demeaned the position of elders by saying that.
Hey, Rick, I have a quick question
Yeah,
for you.
yeah.
I just thought of something. If a brother can walk into the Kingdom Hall without his tie on, and he's going to give a talk, why does he have to put the tie on just because he's handling microphones or up on a stage? What does the tie have to do with the microphones or the stage if he walked in the building without one?
Well, what they're doing here, Donald, you're going to understand this, and this is one of the glue, because I've talked about many times. What's the glue? What keeps witnesses held together? Why is this organization still even in existence? There's a glue and packaging. You walk into a supermarket. Sometimes you buy something you never even bought it before, but you like the package. The package looks nice. Say, I'm going to buy that. I'm going to try it. It looks good to me. Might be junk. Well, the Watchtower, one of the ways they've attracted all of these people, millions of people to become Jehovah's Witnesses, is the packaging. You got to admit that Jehovah's Witnesses always look good. The sister had nice pressed dresses. They wore, nylons. They wore shoes, nice shoes. They kept their hair neat. The men looked handsome. They polished their shoes. They wore a suit and a tie. The packaging, even to this day, if you see people walking down the street with a suit on, that's a Jehovah's Witness. I mean, it's just like synonymous. People don't dress like that and walk around the streets. Witnesses do. So the packaging, it attracts people. And in the day we're living in, you really don't see many people dressed up. You really don't. I don't around here. I go out every day. I don't see women wearing dresses unless it's some from a foreign country like Africa or something. But the American woman, she's wearing slacks and a baseball hat and a sweatshirt. That's what they. So when you dress up a little bit, even if the Kingdom Hall, so the brother wears a tie passing the mic, or he prefers to wear a tie, the witnesses like that. The organization, I should say, Watchtower likes it. It brings you up a couple of levels, You get a little more respect. I think that's a reason, Donald. I do. Yeah. So some of the things they changed. We did discuss the slacks for women, the beards. I mean, that's not earth shattering, right? I mean, I don't think it's going to knock anybody out of the so-called truth because people now have beards in there. Or I don't think it's going to knock anyone out of the truth because sisters can wear slacks in there. But I'll tell you something. I think something that could knock people out of the truth is this idea of now you can go to college and you can go if you want. It's your choice. That could knock people out of the so-called truth. I think it's already doing it. People, I'll tell you what, a week ago when we had our broadcast, people were writing to me. A couple of them were in tears. They were actually crying. They actually said they're crying because of their life is so messed up. Really, think about it. Now, I just want you to stop. Just stop and think for a second. I know sometimes people don't like to think, but what would it be like for you? What would you have done? Even I see my beautiful wife here, Susan, and she says, "Rick, what do you think I would have been good at?" Because Watchtower didn't really encourage college. I said, and she has a very high IQ, by the way. But anyways, the way that I felt about him, I'm saying, Susan, you would have been a great detective. Oh my goodness. You have intuition. You got good ways of thinking about what could have happened. You can put pieces. She's analytical. You could put pieces of the puzzle together. And really, and I was even telling, well, Anne Marie, she comes on the program. I told her, she says, Rick, what do you, if I went on and got a college education, where do you think I'd be today? Well, Anne Marie, she'd be a very successful woman. She would be doing wonderful today. She wouldn't have to worry about anything. She could have been a big time broadcaster. She really could have. Like, who's that woman on, gives advice, you call her up, one of those type women that you call them up and they give you all this advice and how you should, like an Ann Landers, through the newspaper, but there's broadcasters that do it. I forget the lady's name, Laura something. I can't remember her name right now, but Anne Marie would have been perfect for that. So all of us listening in, you all had gifts. And even if you're not a God understanding person, God gave every human a gift. Everybody is good at something. I don't care who you are, you have got a gift. And you could have taken that gift and expanded upon it by going to school, higher education. You could have landed up, maybe you could have got a Nobel Peace Award prize, maybe something in economics, something in literary works. I mean, you could have gone on. Who knows what you could have done? But the Watchtower, they put the kibosh to it, didn't they, huh? They really did. So I'm thinking, these other little issues, the slacks, the beards, the ties, that doesn't even compare with the fact that you couldn't go to college. Is there anybody out there? If you want to call in, I might be able to. I'll be like, remember Karnak on the Johnny Carson show? He'd put that crazy turban on, and then people did ask Karnak a question. Well, maybe you could ask me a question. Why don't you dial in and say, Rick, call me Rick Karnak if you want. Rick, what do you think I would have been good at? Go ahead. Who wants to try it? Let's try it.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Stefan. What do you think I would have been good at? And then I'll tell you what I think I might have been good at.
Okay, let me just think here, Stefan. Like, get my brain working here tonight. I'm thinking, Stefan. I'm thinking, geez, I don't know why football's coming to mind here. I'm thinking it could have been a star linebacker, maybe for the Chicago Bears. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
There you go.
I've met you in person. You're a healthy looking man. I can tell the way you walk with a spring in your step. I think you would have been a great athlete. Yes.
That's interesting because I did aspire to be an athlete. I did want to say one thing, if you don't mind, Rick. I was just continuing on with what you were saying about the various teachings that changed.
Yes.
And don't forget the doctrinal teachings that changed. Because what began to wake me up, and I don't know if I've ever gotten a chance to tell my wake-up story, but it had to do with 3 talks. In fact, it was the last 3 talks because I refused to give any more talks. But it was my last 3 talks. And I can tell you what 2 of them were, and I wish to God I could remember the third, but I can't. But it had to do with doctrinal changes in Watchtower. The first one, and it might seem innocent enough, but it had to do with when a person dies, that we don't know if they're going to be able to marry in the resurrection. Now, that might sound silly, but that was a huge hot button issue in the organization. In fact, I had a cousin, and she would always say, I can't wait till the resurrection and I can marry my true love. who had died before. And I never had the heart to tell her that Watchtower says in the resurrection, you resurrected, you're not going to be able to remarry. So the talk that I had was a 180 on that teaching, that since the Bible doesn't say, it was always my argument, the Bible doesn't say that. When Jesus was talking about the resurrection and people being like, angels, and they don't get given in marriage, he was talking about being resurrected to heaven, not on earth. And I always argued that point. But Watchtower changed that teaching. The next talk, the final one, because I can't remember the third, it had to do with type and anti-type. And as long as I've been alive, we have been talking in this organization about type and anti-type. And I began to wonder, as I got older, and your thinking ability really kicks in. How do we know that the stuff that we read and consider to be type and anti-type is really type and anti-type? How do we know that? And sure enough, that was the last talk that I gave, that since the Bible doesn't explicitly say type and anti-type, one of the things that we should no longer talk about type and anti-type. So the point that I'm making is there's also doctrinal teachers, even before all of this shenanigans about the beard and the dress and all the rest of that, they have been slowly making these doctrinal changes. And I'm talking about going back to 2017 when I started to wake up.
Oh, there you go. Well, thank you. Now, as far as you're bringing up there about the resurrection, how, it was at one time a toss-up, what's going to happen? I know my uncle and aunt died. And when my uncle died, my aunt, they were staunch Jehovah's Witnesses. She was saying, I don't know if I'm going to even see. This is back in the 1970s, by the way. But she would say, well, I don't even know if I'm going to see my husband in the new system, because I'm not sure how that will work. Will he be married to me? Have you heard any different position on that? I'm not sure whether Watchtower.
The newest teaching, this is 2017, 2018, is that since the Bible doesn't say, we don't know. So theoretically, a person could, die, be resurrected. I don't believe any of this stuff anymore, but I'm just telling you the teaching.
All right.
Die and be resurrected. The Bible doesn't say one way or the other that there's no reason to believe that we couldn't get married. So
all right.
The Bible doesn't say. Watchtower is basically trying to just get out of it, but that's after 100-some years telling people that if you die, you're not going to marry in the resurrection.
I got you. Well, thank you. Yeah, I thought that was the position they took. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you. All right, who wants to call in? This is Rick Karnak here, and I'm going to use. Yes, I think this is the King of Dots.
Yes, I wanted to say I was the person. I had a girlfriend. She's the French club president of a Catholic high school, and she convinced me to go to college. So at the age of 20, I took the college entrance exam for the University of Cincinnati, and I got in. Only $1,800 a year, as I recall. It could have been $2,200. That was a long time ago, 1975. And I just thought to myself, then we broke up. Then I thought to myself, it ain't going to teach me what I really want to know. And then I went into Watchtower just a year and a half later. I wanted to learn the Bible. Look, I had a couple cousins who were priests, and they're stupid, very stupid people. I don't mind going to that. I had debates with them. But, yeah, then once I was in Watchtower, I worked in a hospital, and they offered me all free college education. I could be an x-ray tech, cardiorespiratory tech, nurse, medical records, stuff like that. But I couldn't do it now and I had a wife with 2 stepchildren because Watchtower wouldn't let me. Okay. And so, yeah, I kind of missed the boat a little bit, but it turned out all right in the end. That's all I can say. What one thing holds you back, something else comes along. I think God blessed me, quite frankly.
Well, I can tell. As I
didn't get any smarter. That's the problem. I didn't get any smarter if I'd gone to college.
Well, I'll tell you, King of Dots, I'm just sitting here thinking, talking to you and getting to know you over our radio program. My mind is turning here. It kind of is letting me kind of think of what you could have done in life if you could have really gone as far as you wanted in the world of education. I can I can.
The real truth is, I've been doing these poems and stuff. I'm up to like 450 poems and stuff. But the fact is, I used to hang around a lot of musicians and stuff, okay? And, I've written so many songs, it doesn't mean anything anymore. All this creativity is like, everybody I know who is creative, they've self-destructed, Even elders who are really good speakers, they self-destruct. Next thing you know, they had an affair with a sister and they're just fellowship. You know what I'm talking about, Rick?
Yeah, no, that.
You know what I'm talking about?
Well, artists, in other words, if you work in the world of art, you'll see that happens quite a bit. The people do self-destruct. You're absolutely right with that. And you are.
I commit all creativity to God Himself, okay? Because this is in the real world, as you know. The real world has to come. Anything that we see here is a facsimile of something greater. Like Paul said, things he saw in the third heaven, whether in the body or out of the body, it was beyond even speaking about, unmentionable. And he said it twice. And obviously, if he thought in the body or out of the body, well, he would know it wasn't out of the body unless he believed you had a spirit that survived your body. So, but, so I'm not trying to put a big deal on it as far as any creativity, because it's a stumbling stone as far as I'm concerned. I've seen too many people stumble. I could go to the list. But I do want to make a reservation, though. I want to do 2 poems next week on your show.
All right, I'll reserve a spot for you.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that, Rick. I'm trying to pick out the best because I've got up to 450 now, and I'm combing over them because they're not perfect. What happens is redundancy starts to set in. It used to be a word or two I could change to keep from being redundant. Now it's like a line or two, because just how much can I talk about Watchtower without repeating myself? You know what I mean?
I got you. Well, well, I reserve a spot for you. Thank you, King of Dots. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Rick. We love you, and carry on with a great show.
Well, thank you. All right, we have. Yeah, go ahead. Who's this?
It's Nadine.
Oh, Nadine, my Nadine. I didn't know it was you.
Yes, it's me.
Yes, good.
Yes, I'd like to ask you, Rick, what do you think I would have excelled at in life?
All right. Well, let me just think here now. Let me just put there's things coming to my head here. I'm trying to there's some things I'm trying to reject, but it keeps popping up. I'm trying to reject it, but for some reason my mind won't let me. It's telling me. Did you like playing cards?
Sometimes, yes.
All right. Well, anyways, I'm trying to dismiss this because I met you in person. I can't believe it, but it's telling me that you would have liked to work in a casino.
I never thought of that, but I have been told that I sound like an attorney.
Yeah, that came up, but it wasn't an attorney. It actually was an attorney, but I could just see I could see your face. I'm trying to think here. There's an image coming through right now. I can see your face. I can see your face on a billboard as I'm traveling into I can see your face on a billboard. It's clear as can be, and it has to do with law. You've seen them around. What it is, if you have been injured, call Nadine. And you got this really.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so I mean, that's law, but it looks like you could have been a good ambulance chaser.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Well, I've always been interested in psychology and fashion. So those are the 2 things that I really like.
All right, well, fashion could come to mind here too. Yes, my goodness. Well, I'm glad that you had the courage to call in and at least get my mind churning a little bit. But I actually, because you like playing games. See, I got thinking of the game we played with the trivia game, and I figured, boy, she'd be good at.
Yes.
See,
Yes.
so
And I play words with friends and Scrabble, and Yahtzee. I do, but I have other interests also. I just wanted to know. It's kind of fun to know what other people think. What kind of an impression you make on other people.
yeah.
So,
Well, I look at you as if you love fun. You love fun. You love people. I mean, you came up to the convention and you did that. You were a brave soul. That was hard just coming up here by yourself, but
right.
you did that because you love people and you wanted to be with people. So I look at you as a very personal person. You love other people. You got a good personality. And I just, for some reason, I just think that, now listen, I mean, I'm not, when I say, working in a casino, I mean, that is, that's pretty classy stuff. They're not just going to hire anybody off the street. You got to have something on the bar. You got to look, you got to be attractive. You just can't walk in there and say, here I am. So, I get you working in a casino. Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing, my friends, my girlfriends and things, they call me all the time and they like to tell me everything that goes on in their life. And so they like to talk to me about their personal matters, and I listen to them and they ask me, well, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? So, and I've always liked psychology, and I do have my certification, as a life coach, but I never really did anything with it. But that was interesting. And I do like to talk to people.
Well, I can see that. You really are a personable person, Nadine. And I'm sure my wife Susan agrees to that too. She loves you. Yeah, she really does. She loves Nadine.
I love Susan. Now, was Susan trying to get on right now?
I don't know. Was she? Are you trying to get on?
Hey, Rick?
Yeah.
I wanted to tell you, I think Nadine is a real personable person. If she was in a hotel in Las Vegas, she'd be managing all the people around her. So she's very organized.
Well, Susan, yes.
Wouldn't she?
I believe so. Yeah.
Here?
Yeah.
Yes. That's not
Well,
an easy job.
Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
I have been told that I'm very precise with
Yes,
my
you
work.
are. But that's good. I think that's good. And
Well,
I think
thank
you
you.
can manage a lot of people. I do. Because you're personable. But yes,
well,
you
thank
get things done. Now, just because someone's nice doesn't mean that they get things done, but you would.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I think you're amazing, Susan. You're a very, very sweet, personable person yourself.
Well, thank you.
And I enjoyed meeting you. I'm glad that I got the opportunity to meet both you and Rick. I think you're both amazing people.
Well, that's so nice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So now there you go, Nadine. There you go. See that? I mean, you would have gone on in life, but you're a successful woman anyway. So, but I'm just thinking of some of the things that we all could have done. But you just stay, Nadine. Don't you ever change. Just keep staying, Nadine. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Rick.
All right.
Bye,
Thank you.
Bye.
So, anyways, you're on the 6 screens, Telenetwork. Anyone else? Anyone else want to come on and take a shot?
Hi, Rick.
Yes. In fact, let's go to 865. Let's go to 865 first. Okay. Who is this?
It's the Junction guy.
Junction guy. Oh my goodness. I know exactly what you would have been. I just, it popped in my mind as soon as you opened your mouth. It did.
Well, what I want to say about this education thing, it goes more than just college education, because I remember in the 80s, you couldn't even use the word career. If you were planning a career, you were considered worldly, because, this system wasn't supposed to last that long, So even planning for a career was discouraged, So.
Oh, yeah. No, in fact, I can remember that. Thank you for bringing that up, Junction guy. But that's true. You weren't supposed to even be seeking a career. In other words, I always remember the district overseer would say at the convention back in the 60s and 70s when I was a younger person, he'd say, why would you want to go out? And even he used the word career. Why would you want to go out and get a good career? Why would you want to go on and get higher education? I mean, it would be like rearranging the furniture on the Titanic before it sank. That's what he would say. So he did mention the word career. Well, thank you for bringing that up, Junction Guy. But I got thoughts going through my head here as I'm talking with you. Do you mind? Can you mind if I kind of suggest what's coming in my head?
Yes, go ahead.
Do you like horses?
Yes, a little bit, not a lot. I like animals, yes.
Because for some reason I'm seeing horses. I'm also seeing bulls. I'm seeing bulls. I mean,
Well, I love going out west. I travel out, Colorado and Texas and going to rodeos and the Western lifestyle, that really appeals to me, the Old West.
well, that's what I was going to say. I picture you as a rodeo person, one who rides those bucking broncos and those big bulls. Yeah, that came in. Could that be you?
Well, it could be, yeah.
All right, now that's.
Me now.
But isn't that something? That's what Now, where do you live, Junction Guy?
I live in Tennessee.
Yeah.
And something I wanted to mention, I'm in a situation at work. I call myself PMO at work. And it's weird because I feel like I'm trapped there. I've invested so much time there. But it's kind of an odd situation because, I have really good benefits but I just feel like I'm trapped there. So I'm going through kind of that situation, just not with religion anymore. It's work. But I've got just a few more years and then I'll find something else after I retire.
Well, I'll tell you, no, that's a new term here, PMO at work. I mean, we know what a PMO in the witness world is like. So in other words, you're going to work, but physically you're going, but mentally you can't connect with what you're doing.
Exactly. And I've seen a few things over the years and I don't live, all of my family lives out of state. I have very few friends here. I've got a couple I've made from work, but it's an environment where there's a high turnover of people here today, gone tomorrow. You meet somebody, they're gone. So it's just kind of odd, and
Well, I'll tell you, what type of work do you do, Junction Guy?
I work in a jail.
Oh, in a jail. Oh, that's tough. I have a friend that was a prison guard, and he would say to me, Rick, you walk around and you seem pretty happy. Because I'd say to him sometimes, why are you so grouchy? He says, how would you like to work around prisoners all day? Can that get you aggravated, Junction Guy?
What's that?
Can being around prisoners kind of set your mood in a different way?
It can, yes. And I was going to say, there's probably a lot of people like me at work that are just there looking for the next way to get out. And, there's just a lot of unhappy people.
Oh, yeah. Well, gee, I wish your dreams could come true. I really hope things can move in the right direction for you, Junction Guy. Geez, it's always good to hear. It's good to hear from you, too. You're a nice, humble man. Now, you just stay like that, too. I like you. I like your humility. Thank you for calling in. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
There we go. Well, that's Junction Guy. All right. Well, we have, big changes have taken place. And we'll do one more last Rick Karnak here. If you wanted me to kind of get an idea of what you would have been good at, I might hit it right on the nose. So if you want to do that, you can call in. I'll do that for you. I'll give you my thoughts on it. But if not, let's talk about some of these meetings. So we now know that education is now, well, let's go with, before we move to that, let's go to 248. Go ahead, 248. What's on your mind?
How you doing, Rick?
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm just enjoying the stream today, and it just always surprises me how much, stock people put into what the governing body says. Like when I was in, they were like a non-entity. And then if I would have known it was such a top-down structure, I wouldn't have bought into it.
In other words, you'd rather have it just be at the congregation level, not at the Watchtower level.
Yes, and it kind of was like that in the 90s and 2000s.
Well, the Watchtower, see what they do there is the Watchtower, they use the term hierarchical. Now, they use it when it suits their agenda. When they're called into court and there's a congregation in Podunk, Iowa that has a Jehovah's Witness pedophile, the court will bring up that, well, you, Watchtower, Warwick, New York, allowed this to happen because you have a policy in place where the policies start with you and go down to the congregation. So they would say that Watchtower, you're a hierarchical organization. It starts at the top, and then they would always refute that. They'd say, no, we're not hierarchical. These brothers are making their own decision. But we know darn well that's not the case. If you go to any Kingdom Hall and you talk to any body of elders and you say, where are you getting your instructions? They're not making it up at the local level. They're getting it from the top down. I see. That's good you brought that up. I'm glad you did. That's good.
And from what I remember when I was in, the two main pillars that kept it afloat was they always had nice buildings that were well built and clean, and they had good Kingdom Hall buildings, and they always had sincere brothers. The elders, they believed in what they were doing, and they took it seriously. And I don't know if we have that these days. Maybe that led to the decline.
Well, what we have really, we have a lot of elders. I mean, I say we, I'm just trying to use the term so we can connect. There's a lot of elders that are leaving right now. They've written to me. Many of the elders have given me information that they wanted me to share. And even I had about a month ago, I had information from a Watchtower study conductor who was an elder. And he said that he's having such a hard time leaving. He doesn't believe it. He still conducts the Watchtower, but he says his wife is a staunch Jehovah's Witness, and he has a teenage boy, young man, probably 15, 16, that is also entrenched in the Watchtower. And he's so afraid that he's going to lose their friendship if he steps forward. But many elders out there, they're in a real predicament. They really are. They don't know what to do right now. And you can understand the position they would be in. Isn't that something, huh?
Yeah, that's physically in, mentally out.
Yeah. So.
But I will say this, though, and I've seen the stories. I've seen there's people out there who there was the best man at my father's wedding. He was a gay man that he raised kids and was married for about 35 years until he came out of the closet.
Wow.
And then you see other stories like I remember one elder at my grandparents' hall, and he was probably in his 30s at the time, and he had the Tom Selleck mustache and all that, and he acted like he was 50 when he was 30. And then he leaves when he's 50, and then he starts to act like he's 30 again.
Wow.
So you got all these melting pots of different individuals, and it does different things to people. But the fundamental thing is it changes them from who they really are, and it wastes a lot of their time. And they have to figure out who they are after they leave.
Well, in fact, when you are, that what you're bringing up here is something I think all of us can relate to. Even now that I look back, when I was pretty much a loyal Jehovah's Witness, I I I I have a hard time when I was in there even relating to who I was. I was a slave for the Watchtower. You couldn't even think of who you were or what you were doing. So, right, to get out and all of a sudden you have a different way of looking at life. Life is a lot better. I think you'll agree to that, right?
Oh, definitely. And when I left, one thing I learned, like one of the first lessons I learned is everything I learned there, it doesn't apply to me now. I have to start over, and that's in the past.
It's all in the past. It's all in the past. Well, boy, I really appreciate you calling in. Now, where are you calling in from?
Michigan.
In Michigan. Well, very good. We got a lot of callers calling from Michigan. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming in, being with us tonight, and spending your time with us. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Rick. I'll be listening in. I hope you have a great stream.
Well, you too. Thank you. All right, so let's go on here. We got a caller coming in from 602. Who could that be? I think it's Arizona. Go ahead, 602.
Yeah, who could that be? Hey, Rick, you might want to mute everybody on the call so I can talk. Just kidding. Hey, this is Gigi, and I wanted to run something by you about the education thing and see what you thought about it. Because I just, I did the video with Nadine, I did the video with Jesse, and we talked about the religious aspect because Watchtower is a religion. And so when you think of what Watchtower taught everybody for like almost 100 years is, in a religious sense, you're supposed to take your calf, your sheep, your goat, and you're going to take it to be sacrificed. So for 100 years, the Jehovah's Witnesses have been going to the sacrificial site and saying, "I'm going to give my sacrifice to Jehovah." And what is that sacrifice? Well, I'm not going to go to college, and I'm going to give myself to the full-time service, and more things like that. I'm not going to marry the worldly Palestinian or a Syrian guy. I'm going to marry somebody in the truth. So all of these years, and all of these decades, the Jehovah's Witnesses have been taking their sacrifice to Jehovah at the Kingdom Hall. And along comes this guy, this governor body member, and he goes, "Guess what? What are you talking about? We don't have a temple. We don't sacrifice." So they literally have pulled the rug from out of the Jehovah's Witnesses. So that's what Jesus Christ was talking about when he said you invalidate the word of God because of tradition. So here these Jewish leaders would have these traditions. And then they would say, well, because of this tradition, I can't take care of my mom and dad with the money that I have because this money belongs to God. And then therefore, the commandment of honoring your mother and your father doesn't apply. So the words of Jesus Christ have come true. You're witnessing before your very eyes that when Jesus says you have invalidated everything that you have spoken, everything that has come out of the mouth of the Jehovah's Witnesses has been flushed down the toilet, has been invalidated, because they literally have said, yeah, we don't do no sacrifices here. But hold on a minute. Jehovah's Witnesses have been sacrificing for decades. They pull the rug from underneath them. So from a spiritual perspective, and I'm not trying to be preachy here, but they are a religion. And so if we were like in a court of law, we say, Your Honor, these people, they pull the rug from underneath us. And I think that's the greatest thing. Not the fact that they can go to school now. And then look at the other thing my brother Jesse brought up. When we did the video where there was this guy, Walter Williams, he was a college professor. He used to cover for Rush Limbaugh when Rush Limbaugh would go on vacation. And everybody loved Walter Williams because he was a great economist. And he spoke very eloquently. And at that time, the Jehovah's Witnesses were telling their kids, don't go to college because you might learn something from these very smart men and women. But if you look at the colleges now and all of the woke culture, the Jehovah's Witnesses are now sending their children to colleges where everybody is talking about how they're being bankrupt. All of these children are going to colleges and they're They're taking out student loans, and they're never going to be paid off. And now they're slaves to the state. And now Watchtower has flipped the switch. I find it very interesting that the timing of all of this. But on those 2 points, Rick, I mean, what do you think? I mean, did the Jehovah's Witnesses invalidate the sacrifices of all of their members?
Well, I think about that from time to time. I really do. I believe that they, at some point, I don't think there's anybody there with a heart. I don't think they even recognize that the witnesses have to go through what they do to be loyal to the Watchtower. I don't think they recognize. For example, I can remember when I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses. It really wasn't what you did today. You could go out and service, and you could put in 10 hours in a day, and you could go to the elder that night and say, "Oh, brother, I did really good today. I got 10 hours in service. I really did my best." And then they'd say to you, "Well, what are you going to do tomorrow?" Now, you sacrificed a lot of time and effort, but they don't even recognize it, Gilbert. They don't even recognize it, you know?
It seems they've set their people up to fail. And Gilbert makes a really good point that this might not be the economy to pursue college unless a really bright student could get full scholarship. I could see that. But this would be a good time to do the electrician apprenticeship or something of that nature. It seems like they're always a day late and a dollar short. That's just my comment.
Well, Pixie, that's a good comment, Pixie. I think this is Kurt. Kurt, hello, Kurt.
Hi, Rick, and I heard Pixie on there and GB. I'm going to make a comment on this topic. I don't think I can tell anybody anything they don't know. If I was talking to a Jehovah's Witness, I've got two sisters, I would say that the Watchtower has went by Bible principle. They're a very fundamental group, and they like control. But they use the Bible principles of, if I was talking to my sisters, remind them the Bible principles of staying separate from the world, friendship with the world, enemy of God, and all that in the New Testament. And but in that process, it is a Bible principle. It's not something like adultery that's spelled out in the New Testament as a great sin, but a Bible principle. Going to college can be detrimental to any fundamental Christian. Depends on what college and what courses you're taking, because it's usually a godless place where they're teaching evolution and so on. So you have to have strong faith. Anybody that's a Christian to go to college, have strong faith to keep your faith in this world. So in a way, it's a protection. But I want to end my comment by saying, as a Bible principle, they should have and could have all along told the membership that it's up to your conscience, and also encourage people that they have to make a living, have to support your family, and therefore, the vocational training or even college is necessary in most cases to support your family. But again, they should have, I think, from the beginning, always told the membership it's up to your conscience. Thank you, Rick.
Well, Kurt, always good to hear from you. And, this idea of going to college now, and it's your choice to do it, it's really ticking a lot of people off. I've got a lot of information coming into me at the 6 grains that's really showing how disappointed people are, Kurt. It's terrible what's going on in that organization and the people that they hurt. But, I was going over some of the changes here. Someone asked earlier, what were some of these changes? Well, I had them here. A lot of people are still wondering about it. In the last year and a half, really, they've done so much. We talked about beards. We talked about, the sisters wearing slacks, and now even, the college education, and now toasting. I mean, how many times did we go to a wedding and, what people normally do? They toast, they clink their glasses together. You couldn't do that. And even right now, shunning is not the huge thing that it used to be. It still is, though. I mean, don't get me wrong. People are still being shunned. But you can now greet a disfellowship one. Now, you're not to carry on a big conversation, but, if you see a disfellowship one on the street, you can at least, if they want you to ask them, him, her, to come to the meeting. And then they actually changed how disfellowshipping works. First of all, the newest pursuit in the Watchtower is they're not really referring to the word disfellowshipped. I mean, we know what that means, right? But they're now saying removal. Brother Farron has been removed. There's been a removal process. Brother Farron is no longer one of Jehovah's Witnesses. So they're using the term removed. And they're actually making other changes too. They're thinking of getting rid of, in fact, they've already, in some congregations, been instituting it. They're not calling it a judicial hearing. It's a hearing by the elders. They're making it more easy and palatable. I mean, judicial hearing does sound kind of heavy, right? But it's just a hearing by the elders. That's what they're trying to move toward. The other thing is the weasel words, like I just said, removal instead of disfellowshipping. They've been coming up with a lot of weasel words lately and trying to get you to connect with it. And we're finding that the Watchtower has always done this. They've always used little weasel words that can kind of derail your line of thought. I mean, we can think of a lot. A normal place where people go to worship is a church. Weasel word here for the Watchtower would be Kingdom Hall. Little things that they can kind of weasel a way around. Oh, we don't go to church. We go to a Kingdom Hall. Now another chant, another thing that's changed, and this is big. This is a big change right here. A person can repent the very last minute during the Great Tribulation and turn back to the organization. That never was the case. You couldn't repent the last minute. You had to, realize that, well, the tribulation's here, it's starting. I better get back to Jehovah's organization. But I mean, right prior, they're saying right now, right prior to Armageddon, right before Armageddon starts, if a person shows repentance, they can come back in as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And then, of course, the other big change is in the field service. How many times, and you guys listening know what you had to do to get an hour in. Sometimes just to get an hour in the ministry, man, you really had to huff it. You really had to put a lot of effort in, even on a hot day, a cold day, beat the street, knock on doors all over the place. But now that's changed. You don't have to do that anymore. It's now a check box ministry. All you have to do is just check the box. Did you do anything? Even if you only went out for 5 minutes, did you talk to the mailman when he was delivering the mail? That counts. Check the box. You were in the ministry. So people are hearing now, well, what's going to be next? That's all you see in these forums and YouTube. What's going to be next? I mean, everyone's thinking, well, it could be birthdays. It could be birthdays. But I heard something. Now get this. Now sit down when I tell you this. It's even now coming up. I can't give you full evidence of this taking place, but I want you to know that I'm hearing they're possibly going to start to say that Jesus died on a cross. Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Jesus died on a cross? That's what Christendom teaches. Well, one time even the witnesses, you go back to the 1920s, the Bible students, many of them became Jehovah's Witnesses. they believed in the cross. They believed Jesus died on a cross. And then I believe it was in the 1930s, early 40s, they came up with Jesus dying on a torture stake. So there you have it. So now I'm getting wind that they could be saying that Jesus died on a cross. And how they'll do that is they're going to come out and say they're never going to apologize. How many times did we get into a big discussion about the cross? I did that plenty of times when I had Bible studies as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And we'll say, well, it really wasn't a cross. It was just a torture stake. Then we'll give them all the reasons for it, right? So, but now, there's scientific evidence, there's historical evidence that shows that Jesus died on a cross. So, the world is finding out. So the Jehovah's Witnesses have got to change their position on their doctrine and some of their policies. In Christmas, we're now really even understanding that they might even allow you to celebrate Christmas. Now, don't say, well, Rick said they're going to, because I don't know. But people writing me, and these are little innuendos, little suggestions. A lot of the people that give me information, they have parents, they have relatives that still go to the meeting. So, even the witnesses are talking about some of this stuff. They're really talking about some of this stuff. So what changes are on the horizon? There could be a lot. What do you think? Anyone want to weigh?
They did come out in the same paragraphs that talked about college. At the end, they mentioned twinkling strings of lights. They didn't call them Christmas lights, but for $5 at Five Below, you can get a variety of string lights. And all the young people, the kids have them. And they said that at Bethel, they put string lights on their patios. So
No, where did they say that? Where did they say that, Pixie? Where did you say at the end of the streaming? Where'd you say they heard that?
When they had the announcement about college, it was part of that same footage.
Oh, okay. All right. I got you. Okay. That's where you saw it. Okay. All right. Good. Well, thank you for saying that. But see what they do. And I've been saying this for 20 years. What the cults do, what a high religious mind control group does is simply this. They tell you before they tell you. Now just think about that. They tell you before they tell you. Like Pixie's just saying, okay, we have string lights. We have at Bethel. We have on patios. So they're kind of telling you something before they tell you. Then what a high control group does is they tell you while they're telling you. All right. So now they might come out and drop it again. Well, Christmas lights aren't that bad. As a matter of fact, it's kind of a joyous season. So people are kind of getting conditioned. And then what a high control group does is the third thing they do is they will tell you what they told you. Now, I know a lot of people are going, what are you talking about, Rick? But they tell you before they tell you while they're telling you, and then they tell you what they told you. Just kind of, you don't have to really even connect any dots on that right now. But when you're laying in bed tonight, when it's, it's not a lot going on around you, think about that because you'll see it's true. Yeah.
It's also a good formula for an 8-minute talk there, Brother Farron.
Right. So I always get a lot of feedback on that one. But I'll tell you what, how they get, I tell you, really, with all of these changes that we just talked about and what they're doing, it really totally amazes me. It totally amazes me that the witnesses can just see what they're saying, because I get on, Jehovah's Witness Facebook pages, and people send me what the witnesses are saying. So the witnesses think that the witnesses are basically saying that this is some type of a a cleansing by God, by Jehovah. Jehovah's coming into the organization. And those that infiltrated it in a bad way and came up with all of these things that was so, you couldn't do, all these rules, they're more or less saying that, that wasn't the true Jehovah's Witness organization. Those were infiltrators, people that's kind of snuck in. And that's how they kind of push it all aside. But now Jehovah is refreshing it. Jehovah is bringing all this about for his own good and for the good of the witnesses. What do you think, Dan? Coming in, Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Rick. What I'm seeing, when they came out with the clinking of the glasses, what I thought was interesting was, I think it was Stephen Lett, is when he said, what was once viewed as pagan. What was once viewed as pagan today is no more than just a clinking glass. So why wouldn't you apply that to Christmas? What was once viewed as pagan is not viewed as pagan. It's just giving gifts and loving each other at this time of year or birthdays. What was once viewed as a time where they used to cut people's heads off and do this, today, of course, we know it isn't like that. So I could see them just going right down the line, birthdays, Christmas. And I just wanted to say something about the college. I've seen a lot of people on TikTok, bawling their eyes out and pissed off really, really bad. Just, I'm so pissed. I'm so mad. I didn't get to go to college. And, I was wondering, why they were so, pissed off, but I remember crying back in the early 90s when I used to run. I used to run a lot. I used to run marathons and all the different runs. And I remember running by Fort Collins. I would run in the evening, Fort Collins, Colorado. And it was a college. And I remembered crying, thinking, my God, I didn't get a chance to be in a dorm. I didn't get a chance to just be free and take a look at all these different subjects and see what I wanted to do with my life and so on and so forth. And I remember grieving that. But what I want to say about college, and I think a couple of people, Gigi, Pixie, both commented on it. College is not what it used to be. Everybody holds a piece of paper now. Most of them are debt slaves. Most of them. I know so many people, Rick, that are buried, 100,000 plus minimum, and all they're paying is the I don't know what you'd call it, the interest. And I'm like, wow. And a lot of people that get degrees at that young of age don't use them. And I would challenge some people to say, if somebody says, I've got a degree, I'd like to say, did you use it? Most of them go, well, no, I never used it. Or I changed my degree, or now I'm doing a trade. And one advantage that I had, Rick, was when I was going through my grieving process with college, my mentor took me down to a college, and she said, Dan, what do you like about college? I said, well, I could have made a lot more money. So she literally took me to the book and said, let's look at some of these things you might want to do. And it was like 30,000 bachelor's degrees, 60,000, master's degree, and then PhD, 75 to 120,000. And I know it varies, but for the most part, she's like, Dan, you already make that. You already make that. Like if you're just going to school for that, you're already making that in the trade. So that was kind of a blessing for me. So that was probably a video that I'll do on TikTok eventually, is that college isn't what it used to be. Everybody's holding paper. There's tons and tons of people that are debt slaves today. Just go online and look at the people that got caught in that trap. So it's like somebody said about Watchtower. It's just a little late. Back in the 70s and 80s, those degrees meant something. But now, not saying that they're not of benefit at all, but they're not what they're cooked up to be. What do you think about that?
Oh, no, I do agree with you, Dan, with all of this. It's, nobody's really guaranteed. And I like what you mentioned, too. If you mentioned this to me as well before, that, in today's day and age, you really, if you have some business savvy and even starting your own business, you can do pretty good. If you got a good trade, even you went to trade school, the witnesses never really downplayed that for some reason. See, they didn't want you to go to higher education to learn about, philosophy and religion. They didn't mind you taking a trade. But thank you for bringing that up. But I know that you did mention before, but a business is good too. If a person has a college education today, they're not really guaranteed a great job. They're not. No.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
So, who's on with us here? Yeah, go ahead. You're on. Go ahead.
This is Zachary.
Yeah, Zachary.
I kind of agree with that last comment that was made. I think that the witnesses in the past, they've always warned against going to college, but they never forbade going to college. They warned, like Kurt said, the dangers of going to college. Atheist professors might erode your faith. Living on campus with worldly people, so bad association spoils useful habits. And they also, for some reason, courses in logic was something that I saw them talk about. But if you look at the literature all the time, you see little glimpses that people were doing education after high school, because there was a yearbook that I was reading, and it's something about two boys who were going away to trade school, and the mother told them, remember your Jehovah's Witnesses. And I took note of that. And also in the 1978 Awake, there was a special article called Evolution Goes to College. And somewhere in that article, they make mention, they say two students at Florida University or University in Florida were discussing the matter, one of them, one of Jehovah's Witnesses. So they've always let those little things come through. But this is something interesting that happened to me while I was at Bethel. Now, I had gone to college straight from high school, so when I went to Bethel, I had already graduated from college. And one day they were talking about, we were sitting at the table, at the dining table, and my table head was Dave Weigel. He worked in the writing department at this time. It was in Towers. His wife was Rosemarie. They said something about, something came up about college or pioneering, right after high school. And I made this statement almost like, not shame, but I said, I didn't pioneer right from high school. I went to college. And Dave Weigel looked at me and said, yeah, but he said, you took up a skill in college. And so right there, it told me, oh, they're not fully against college. I think this is what they used to look down on a little more. If you went to college to study liberal arts, like you just said, philosophy, Rick. If you went to study philosophy or art, they had a slightly different view if you went to take a trade, if you were studying business management, or not a trade, but something that would prepare you for the work world. They were not as against that. But I will say this also. This thing on college, in 1992, I've said it before, they lightened up on their stand when they had the article, Education with a Purpose, around November of 1992. And there they used the term further education, and they said that it would be, furthering your education would allow you to be able to make more money in less time, and it would enable you to engage, make it a little easier for you to engage in full-time service. In 2007, roughly around then, they started to warn against it more. And I was attending a meeting at the convention, one of those meetings for those who want to enter Bethel service in 2007. I was just interested in seeing who's there. And Brother Lett said, many people ask, will it help them to get into Bethel if they go to college? And he said, no, it won't help you. It won't do anything for you to get into Bethel. And then he said, in fact, it might hurt your chances when you consider how we've been discouraging it in recent years. So they kind of closed it up a bit again. But this time, with that brother using the term now additional education, he didn't just limit it to college. He listed the things that were additional education. College was among them. When he said, "It's a conscience matter," that is, they opened it up fully. They opened it up fully when they said, "It's a conscience matter." That's the thing they used to talk about. It was amazing that Nadine 2 weeks ago mentioned that beating heart, and I remember commenting about the brain and that it was about the conscience. Well, here they're using that term, the conscience, Bible-trained conscience again. They have opened up college for everybody. Now, I don't think it's just a matter of doctrinal change. I think that if you look at the changes in the governing body, it's like the Supreme Court, where they name the court by the Chief Justice office. They'll say the Warren Court, the Berger Court, the Rehnquist Court, the Roberts Court. I think the governing body has similar changes because you've got the group that were the board of directors that turned into like a governing body. And that goes up until about the 90s when, you know, Noor died, Souter died, Franz died, you know, people are dying. And then the first brand new person was Brother Loesch. And that went up until Brother Sanderson. And then anybody new, I consider a third generation governing body, anybody after Brother Sanderson. Those people, these are different lifetimes. You've got people who are growing up in different lifetimes. These new governing body members are basically young compared to a lot of the people, people in six screens even. They're newer. They're seeing the world with different eyes. They're seeing what happened to witnesses who thought Armageddon was going to come by 1975. They're seeing those people age. They're seeing what the financial situation is. And maybe what's happening is somebody is saying it's not such a good idea to restrict people's education. I think that might be what's happening too.
Well, that's a good little narrative that you came up with, Zach, but I agree with you 100%. Boy, they are crafty, the way that they write articles. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. I really do appreciate it. Thank you. Let's go to hold on one second. Let's go to 614. Michael, come on.
Hey, how you doing, Rick?
I'm good.
Yeah, I noticed that. Have you talked to a Jehovah's Witness personally lately?
I haven't talked to them personally. No, I haven't. I'm getting letters. I got one coming the other day trying to get me to go back to the meeting. But what do you know?
Well, last week I was in a situation where they were going through the neighborhood, and I was helping a person with his house, and I told him that he was going to go up to the door, and I told the witness, I said, you know, you probably don't want to go up to his door. I said, he's Jewish and he's part of the chosen crowd. He's chosen people. And we got a laugh out of it, you know. I said, he's not really home. And then we started to converse, and I didn't tell him I was an ex-witness. I just, he just talked about it. I said, are you preaching the gospel? And he said, well, we're talking about the kingdom. And I said, is that the gospel to you? And he said, well, I said, how do you get into that kingdom? How do you get into that kingdom that you're talking about? And he read me a scripture, John 17:3. And it says about exercising faith. And I told him that this means everlasting life, exercising faith. I said, the scripture doesn't say that. And he said, well, right here, it's right here in this Bible. I said, well, that's the only Bible it says it in. It doesn't say that. He said, well, what Bible you use? I said, well, pick one. You pick it. You got a phone there. Just pick any Bible, and it won't say that. And he picked King James. I said, that's fine. And I'll read it. And King James says this means everlasting life. Those who believe. I said, see that word believe? That's a big difference from exercising faith. And I went on to tell him that there's three people on a cross. And one turned to Jesus and asked him to remember him. And what did he say? He said, truly, I tell you, today you'll be with me in paradise. Now, did he exercise faith or did he believe? Did he go to meetings? Did he place magazines? Did he go to church? Was he circumcised or baptized? None of it. But he turned to Christ and recognized that he was the king of the world. He recognized that it was him that would bring eternal life. And I told that brother, I said, see, the belief is way different than exercising faith, because if we believe in Christ, like you do, you believe in Christ, I believe in Christ. I accepted his sacrifice. That makes us brothers. That makes us brothers in Christ. It's a big difference from exercising faith. So he said, I never thought of it that way. And this was a witness. So you expect to get a lot of feedback, and you expect to get a lot of scriptures, and you expect to get a lot of debate. It didn't happen. It was a wonderful conversation. And when I asked him about the shunning, he acted like it never existed. Asking about the disfellowshipping, we don't do that. We don't do that. We heard people do that, but we don't do that. And I sat there in amazement. I couldn't believe it. So I was just wondering.
Oh no, that's typical Jehovah's Witness rhetoric. It's typical. They're blind to all of this. They don't see it all going on. They don't look at it the same way we look at it, Michael. They know darn well that just fellowship. When they have relative family, they're doing that too. But why can't they connect and see how evil and how cruel it is? But they're so eager to deny it or say that others do it, but we don't do it. I've heard that so many times. It's disgusting, isn't it? It is.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. And then here, I wanted to also tell you, I called in a long time ago with that lady. I forget, she was the one who was about the pedophiles, and she really knew what she was talking about. You had her on your show a few weeks ago. But I don't know if you remember, I called in and told about Les Wexner here in Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
He lives. Okay, that was me who called in about that. I know all about that guy. He's not too far from me.
Yes.
And man, I'll tell you, it's starting to come out now. I just see the information even on the national news starting to come out about Wexner. And if you ever seen what he did to this little town in New Albany, and I sent you a video, and I know you're busy and you don't have time, but if you ever watch that, what he did to this little town in New Albany is unbelievable. $1 million, $2 million houses are just being bought up, tore down, and wiped out. And it's incredible. And that was all brought on him and Epstein. Him and Epstein did all this, along with my buddy who's already passed. But they were a big part. Now, when my buddy found out what was going on, he left the company. He left. And before he died, he told me everything that Wexner and Epstein was up to. And there's more to come to the story, Rick. There's more to come to the story.
Oh, this is just a tip of the iceberg, Michael. This is just a tip of the iceberg. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Michael. All righty, my goodness gracious. See, well, you talk to a witness is crazy. Is this Donnie from London?
Oh, yes. Hello there, Rick. Yeah, it's interesting what you said about them changing their minds, maybe about what Jesus died on, because I'm looking into it. Jesus carried the cross beam, didn't he? That's what the original word is. He carried the cross beam, and logistically, it's not possible to be executed on a stake, because it would have to be so long that a third of it would end up in a hole that's dug in the ground so that it's not wobbling around everywhere. And it's not reasonable to ask a convict, after he's been flogged and bleeding and that, to carry a log that long. And in the New Testament, there's no mention of the stake being dropped in the hole and, when Jesus got there or anything like that. So it must have been in the ground already. I mean, Romans, they know what they're doing. They're going to prepare for an execution. And then on top of that, the New Testament, Jesus told Thomas, he said, see the holes where the nails went through my hands. So if he died on a stake, there would have only been one nail. He'd have mentioned one nail only. So anyway, it's not logistically possible. So maybe I don't know whether you think they're waking up because they do think, oh yeah, he died on a cross, whether they just want to be popular with the masses, I don't know.
Well, Donnie, thank you for sharing that. Like I said earlier, that's like I say, I got this information this week about them changing it to the cross. And, you know, it's based on scientific evidence, just like you said. It's impossible. How could a, you know, a beaten up criminal, so to speak, carry this big cross? You couldn't do it. But, you know, that's what the witnesses portray. He carried this big torture stake, a big heavy stake. He couldn't do it. So scientifically, but also biblically, also historically, they've got to change that. They've got to also change the 144,000. It's going to be hard to do that, but they got to do it. People are catching up on them. People know there's been way more than 144,000 real Christians since the first century. Everybody knows that. So, I mean, these doctrines are being challenged day in, day out. Thank you, Donnie.
Well, I think,
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the 144,000 might have even been that figure in the first century, because it says in the scriptures, doesn't it, that, oh yes, on one occasion, 1,000 got baptized. Well, you know, if that's the rate they're getting baptized at, it would have been complete then, wouldn't it?
Yes, in fact, exactly. I've heard that before, Donnie. Thank you for being on the ball. Thank you for being on the ball. Yeah, thank you.
Ready, Craig?
Yes.
This is Ashley again.
Yes, Zach.
I wanted to say something about witnesses who do go to college, who before went to college. You still have a mind in a cage, sort of. So I heard a little bit of your earlier show, what different ones would have been if they had gone to college and you were doing that Karnak or something. I don't know the real name because I never really saw it. But you were telling people what you felt they would have been. But I have to say this. A person goes to college and you're just seeing a little bit of this and that and a little this and that. You're learning this and that. But your mind is still in a cage, because remember, the witnesses had that saying, don't use it may have been a scripture, don't use the world to the full. So whatever you did, there was this idea of limiting yourself. And you still you still might be pioneering or something. So you're not really being as accomplished as you might have been if you weren't trying to pioneer or do other things, serving kingdom interests, as the witnesses would say. And so even if you go to college, your mind is still in a bit of a cage and you're still limited more than you would be otherwise.
Well, always good to hear from you, Zach. Always good to hear from you. I mean, you went on and you pursued, like you said last week, you pursued a higher education, and life has been a lot better for you. Well, what do you think would have happened to you if you really listened to the Watchtower back then?
I think that anybody who I'm speechless with that question.
Is that right? Well,
I'm almost afraid to answer it. No, I definitely think I would have accomplished more than I have accomplished. I definitely think that. I might even have gone into a different area, I don't know, for a profession than I went into.
Yeah, it's so hard to project what would have happened.
Yeah.
But
when I first before the Bethel, and I had graduated, and my work that I did required me to often travel, so I would be out of town and I would attend meetings wherever I was. So whereas another part of the engagement team, they might be going out to dinner or something, I was the one going to meetings. It's kind of the way I ended up going to Bethel, because I ended up attended a different congregation, was full of Bethelites one time, and I was pioneering, and so I would go out in the evening with them because I was on an engagement for a whole month. So when they had their evening witnessing, I went out with them, and I got exposed to this congregation, and there was a sister. She was a pioneer, and she was almost like reminded you of a gypsy, and she was always encouraging. So that's how I started looking at going into Bethel service. But I do think that I just have to go back to when you're a witness and you're trying to follow the rules and be faithful, your mind is in somewhat of a cage, and so you still don't grow as much as you would have grown otherwise.
Yeah, it's we can all sit there, in fact, and think of what would have happened, and a good many of us landed up okay, anyways. But a lot of people really got hurt, Zach. A lot of people really got hurt. They really followed Watchtower to the T. They never pursued a career like we were talking about earlier. They never really wanted to go on and do much, even though they had ability. So some of these people had a lot of ability. I'm just thinking of the world of entertainment. I knew so many people, even witnesses, they could have gone on and been great actresses and actors. We used to have these talent shows in our congregation. And my goodness, they were talented,
Hey, Rick?
I asked a Bethel brother who was a good friend of mine, and he was extremely, I would say, critical. And I don't mean critical in a negative way, but he was critical of what you did. And I used to sing, he'd hear me sing, and I did it on family night. And when I left Bethel, one time I asked him, he was still at Bethel, I said, hey, should I join one of those musical theater groups? And he said, no. Oh, I'm sorry. He said no, because what'll happen is you'll probably end up getting into trouble and you'll be disfellowshipped. And so I never thought about getting involved in one of those groups,
Yeah.
Hey, Rick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey,
Go ahead. Yeah, Mike, go ahead.
this is Scott from Florida.
Oh, Scott, go ahead. Yep.
This is Steph. Oh, okay. Yeah, I just wanted to say, back in 1979-80, I was a pioneer, but I also wanted to go to college because my father, who was also a witness and a ministerial servant, he encouraged me to go because he had worked hard all of his life in a factory. And he told me, he said, it's easier to make your living sitting down than standing up. And he used to tell me how he would see the engineers in the offices in their white shirts and in air conditioning, while the rest of them were all out on the factory floor with no air conditioning, on their feet all day long doing work. So he encouraged me to go. And at the time, I went for computers. And you got to remember, back then, nobody had a computer at home, not even your high schools. They were only in colleges, and major corporations had computers. So I was literally in on the ground floor. It was almost guaranteed that if you got any kind of degree in computers, you would get a job. And I did. I went to work for Eastman Kodak, and that kicked off my career. And thankfully, that gave me a whole lifetime of support for my family and, and such. To this day, even grandkids, I'm able to help them out because of my work. But I remember my bosses trying to get me to go back. I only went for a 2-year degree. They kept after me to go back for more. And I can tell you for a fact, I constantly didn't, because I thought, oh, Armageddon's coming. It's a waste of time. I'll just be happy with what I got. But I really did shoot myself in the foot, because I could have done better for many, many years. Now, I did eventually get my master's degree, but not after, many years before I finally said, I'm going to go back to college and do what I always wanted to do, because let's face it, the system just isn't around the corner anymore. But one thing I remember is there was one elder, and I used to like this elder. He was an older gentleman, but he started persecuting me. Every time I came to the meeting, he would make fun of me for going to college constantly. And he was the only one that did. None of the other elders ever said anything to me. But he literally, I'd call it persecution because it got to the point where I had to avoid him. I avoided him at all costs, and I didn't like him. And I did like him. I used to go over to his house when I was pioneering, and he was nice to me. But as soon as I went to college, boy, he just thought that that was a waste of time, and I'm trying to act like I'm smarter than everybody else, and he just didn't go for it. But I'm telling you today, a lot of people do go to college, but I think they get the wrong degrees. You know, you've got to get something that's marketable. You know, some degrees just don't, you know, in humanities doesn't give you much of a marketable skill. So you need some kind of skill. And I don't care if you go to college or a trade school, but you need a skill these days. Computers, lawyer, doctor, you know, welder, it doesn't matter, but it's got to be a skill that you got to have. But that's just kind of my experience. So I always encourage my kids and grandkids to go to school that if you do, it's going to make a big difference in your life. You know, you're going to make better money. You're going to better support yourself. You know, you're going to have a retirement someday. You'll have a little bit of money. And it's just better all the way around.
Well, thank you for saying. Well, thank you for saying.
In the 80s.
Well, good for you. Thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it. Yeah, go ahead, Stefan. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to be very brief, but my comment is very much akin to the gentleman that just spoke. I was asked one time if I won however many millions of dollars in the lottery, what would I do with it? I said I'd put it all in the bank, I'd quit my job, and I'd immediately go to school. And this person looked at me like, why would you need to go to school? You were already a millionaire. You just won all this money. And I said, because going to college is not about making money. It's the exposure to things that you get. Now, when we go back in our memory, especially for those of us that were born in, and we did exactly what Watchtower told us, we learned nothing in life. Nothing. All we were good for was hawking Watchtower wares, their publications and books and all the like. Beyond that, we knew nothing else about life, about history, about science, a very little bit that they might have taught us in the Awake magazine. But by going to school, you would be exposed to so many things, and that really enriches your life. Just like that gentleman just said, it's not solely about money. There's plenty of people that are in college and universities right now who come from wealthy parents who do not need money. That's not why they're going to college. They're going to college for the exposure and how that enriches your life. Our life as Jehovah's Witnesses was not rich. In fact, we were poor. We were destitute. We knew nothing. We bought into that line that if you read Watchtower and Awake publications, especially the Awake, it's like getting a first-year degree. Well, when I went to school, I can tell you honestly, there wasn't one single time when I said, oh, yeah, I know about this because this was in Watchtower publications. I knew nothing. And so Watchtower loves to do this line. You're going to go to school and you're going to try to be, wealthy, and you're going to try to be. No, it's about exposing, having your world and your horizons broadened. That is what's important about going to college. And I can honestly say, out of all the things that I've done wrong in my life, not going to college was the single greatest mistake I made in my life. Thanks, Rick.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Stefan. Now, Scott, the man that called in before you, in fact, he agrees with you. College can help you a lot, but it's not the whole panacea. But I'll tell you what, he mentioned something, got me thinking, retirement. We were told back in the 60s and the 70s, or even the 80s and right along as one of Jehovah's Witnesses that, Armageddon's coming. It's right around the corner. Don't worry about retirement. Well, all of a sudden, the baby boomers, that's a generation I am in. The baby boomers are now getting too old to work, really. Many of them have to just to survive. But, many of them are not getting the Social Security payments they would like to have because of listening to the stupid Watchtower. Really, they could have been making out so much better in life. There's many, I'll tell you what, you drive by some places, You'll see older people even picking dumpsters. There's older people standing in line at CVS and Walgreens, and they don't have enough money to pick up all of their pills. They might need 30 pills, but I'll just take 10. It's sad, but that's what happens when you get an organization that doesn't even alert you to what it's going to be like to be old and poor. And these people really have a bone to pick. As a matter of fact, this week, some people have been sharing thoughts with me from people that have left Bethel. And this is just horrendous how these people are treated. It's horrifying. When you're at Bethel and you get to be in your 60s, you are of no value to them. Unless you have some secret formula to stay there, they're looking for an exit door for you. And I'll tell you what, some people sent me some stuff this week about former Bethelites that were kind of kicked out. I'm going to use that term, kicked to the curb at us, in the 60s. We don't need you anymore. Go back. Your home congregation will work with you. So you put all the burden on them, and these poor people are so saddened. Many don't even have Social Security because they never paid into the system. So the Watchtower could care less. And then I got information on how much some of these people get. Well, it's nice of the Watchtower to give these people a few bucks, but I mean, now I'll tell you how much money they get. But you imagine, they sent me information about one woman. She was in her 20s when she went to Bethel. Of course, it would have been in Warwick at the time, and she was there until 60. Now that's 40 years of service, and she probably really worked her butt off, so to speak, probably making beds at first and doing laundry and whatever they had her doing, and making her feeling like this is Jehovah's work. Jehovah's blessing me. Well, the woman got to be 60. They let her go back to your congregation. She didn't have any real Social Security. The poor woman is sick today. This is what goes on in that evil organization. And because we all listen to them. And, we tried to be the best witness we could.
Hear more about those stories, Rick.
I got a bunch of them. Yeah.
Is that for someone that doesn't have Social Security, it takes about 2 years for a person to get disability or a county subsidized apartment. It takes about 2 years.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, I got more stories. I'll probably give you more as we go along here. But Lloyd, we got a lot of people calling in right now. Who wants to speak up? You're on with us. It looks like.
Hey, Rick.
Yes, go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I just want to say, it's really sad because signing on the Watchtower is signing yourself into slavery. Well, it really is an obligation when you come in there. It's when you go through those questions, you're committing 100% to Watchtower leading you. So they never promised anybody retirement. All they promised you was paradise. The cookie you're going to get down the road that never comes. But man, my parents' life was shattered, because of that, because of waiting, especially, in 75. They thought it was all going to be over. My dad used to just say, it's all going to be over by 75. And, he was so depressed. And when that passed, something about him, something in him died. And we didn't really know. We were younger. We weren't graduated yet. But what a mess. And I have to agree with the guy who was on there, and I forget his name, that being in Watchtower is, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, but there's a huge level of ignorance. I see it all the time around here in the carts and all the things. Education at least rounds you out. When I saw people, I went to college for a couple of years with a corporation, and at least you get rounded out. You get a more expansive view on life, as opposed to, just the world's going to end, tomorrow, and be faithful to Jehovah, pass out magazines. It's like the bottom of the barrel, and like you said, man, when those guys come out of Bethel, not contributing anything to life, not getting any retirement back, they're in some bad shape. And I feel sorry for them. And my parents ended up in poverty and sick, And I know a lot of witnesses right now that are very sick. My uncle's sick. My other uncle's sick. Almost all of them have died from some weird thing. And why wouldn't you? When hopelessness sets in, you know you've been betrayed, you know you've been lied to. And I'm thinking about this. If I was sitting in there now and I was watching all these things change, there's nothing you can do. You've signed into slavery. You've said you accept Watchtower no matter what. You accept the governing body. The governing body is your, mediator between you and Jehovah. And you said they're going to give you your food at the proper time. So no matter what they feed you, just think about that. No matter what Watchtower feeds you, you have to eat it. If they tell you it's Christmas, then it's Christmas. If they tell you it's this, it's this. That is what you signed on to. When you took your obligation, when you took your kneel, when you went to those three elders and mimicked back the same thing, the governing body is a faithful and discreet slave, and we don't do this, and we don't do this, and we don't do this. You were stamped as a slave. And so slaves don't get any pension. Slaves don't get any education. Slaves just sit back and wait and do whatever they're told. That's what a sad way to live, It really is.
Oh, Dan, I'll tell you what. If a person joined the Jehovah's Witnesses today, send me an invitation to your funeral. I mean it. It was wacky enough when we were in there, but it's so wacky now, and all these changes, it really will drive a person to suicide, or their life will become meaningless. And
it is, Rick. I tell you, when I talk to my uncle, I'm like, what are you doing? What do you mean wear slacks? Well, blah, 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 And it's like, what do you mean you can do this and you can wear a beard and man, there's nothing he can say except just honestly, Rick, say I'm a fool. That's all he can really say. He can't say it. All he can do is deny it. And they call that denial when everything's changing. Everything's, the whole Watchtower is changing. I mean, they're really trying to just align with Christianity. Everybody knows that. They're trying to have a form of Christianity that they're coming closer and closer into alignment with. But the truth of it is, Rick, like you said, those people that have been in a long time, inside they're raging. I know it. I can feel it. They're like, what the hell are they doing? And there's nothing they can do. There's nothing they can do. One reason is, Rick, it's too late. It's too damn late. I mean, my God, my uncle's 81 and he's still putting paint on cars. He's still breathing. The lacquers and the polys and catalyzed finishes, and he's 81. I said, no, you're not really painting, are you? He goes, oh yeah, I'm still painting. He's got sugar, lots of things. Angela wants to say something here.
I think the biggest horrible thing is that when you start to come and face the fact that maybe, just maybe, I've been tricked. Well, to give that up and admit that I've been tricked, I've been betrayed, is about impossible, because you've already given up everything for a lot of years, and you're all in. You've been all in, and now you realize it, and you just go into, like Dad said, you go into denial because it's just too hard to admit defeat because you've given so much. So you just keeping on hoping that maybe, just maybe, you haven't been tricked, and wanting to be in denial about it because you just can't face that. It's too painful. And I've seen that in my own family, coming to realize that we've been tricked in the cult that I was in. And my sister, man, I'll tell you what, she really put in a lot of everything, money, everything, and then just cannot face that I was wrong, that I got hoodwinked, and she just will not, surrender, I guess you would say, give up, because it's just too painful, too humiliating, I can't have made that bad of a mistake. So, that's heartbreaking to me.
Well, Angela, thank you for sharing that story with us. And it is heartbreaking. And there's nothing we can do. In fact, even talking to my wife this week, she has children, grown girls, really. I mean, they're women. I have grown children in the Watchtower. And, there's nothing we can do. We can moan, we can groan, complain. But these people are they're like zombies. They're like zombies. And they don't think that they're really doing any harm. But, the good thing is, I had a relative a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, maybe now, that called me up out of the blue. call me a very close relative. I can't say who because I don't want to get them in trouble. But anyways, they called me up out of the blue and said, I now am out. Now we're all going to get that. We're all going to get calls like this soon because people are going to be leaving. And really people even at Bethel are getting disgusted. In fact, I was told about a really good person. No, there we go. There we go.
The Bethelite, part of a system that demands loyalty and obedience. But behind closed doors, his world tells a different story. Rick is often in talk.
There we go. There we go.
The conference has been locked. Ministry,
Here we go,
mockery, and beneath the chaos lies a darker devotion.
Yeah. It's fascinating how these drunken Bethelites.
The conference has been unlocked.
How the drunken Bethelites will come in and create all
The conference has been locked.
Yeah, all right. It's kind of interesting how they come in and want to create issues.
Yeah, you must have hit a nerve, Rick. You must have.
Oh yeah, well they come in, Dan, and they do that, and I find it very, very fascinating that they do it. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, Rick, I just wanted to say too, I'm looking online a lot. I'm seeing a lot of these people come out, and it just hurts to see how broken, how confused. I mean, they feel good to be out, but there's a crash when you come out. There's a crash. There's a meltdown. I was talking to somebody the other day. Complete meltdown. Who am I? Where am I going? One of the things I used to appreciate when I was out, I did have a lot of people who were very educated that I knew. And they were always so well-rounded. They had their houses. Maybe some of them had them paid off. They were grounded. They had a better vocabulary than me. I felt like I was so far behind everybody. Just, and that's what I see. And then the ones that are still in, Rick, I'm seeing what they call compartmentalization. When I was talking to my uncle the other day, I wasn't talking to him. I was talking to a part of him that split off. I'm not hearing Watchtower talk about climate clocks, but he's talking about a climate clock because it's the only thing he's got to hang on to at 81 years old. In 2 to 4 years, Jehovah's going to step in and save the world before we all fry. Anyway, Rick, that's all.
Well, no, Dan, I tell you what, I really say this to you, and you always offer good comments, you and your wife, Angela, as well. People love it when you come on and talk. We really appreciate that. In fact, I did want to bring up that we're talking about the Bethelites and talking about how they'll leave you out to dry, really, when they get rid of you. I do know an older couple at Bethel. I mean, I don't know them personally, but I had a friend of mine tell me about them. They have a pretty high position in the Watchtower. I can't tell you where. I mean, I don't want to get anybody in trouble here, but there's PMOs in Bethel, numerous PMOs in Bethel. They don't believe it, but they don't know what to do. Now, this man, he's my age. Him and his wife are there. They have got a pretty high. They got a pretty high position. They got a pretty high position in the Watchtower, and they're stuck, and they don't know what to do. They have no money. They've been there for 40 years. 40 years. Someone's coughing here. We gotta. Okay. We'll mute that cougher. All right. So they've been there for 40 years, and what's happening is they can't. What are you gonna do? How would you feel? Well, what if you were at Bethel and you knew this was a big fraudulent organization, but that's all where you're going to go? All your relatives, they've deserted you. You got no money. But I did find out this week, the information coming into me at the 6 screens. I appreciate all the people who gave me the information. I'm now learning that they are offering some severance pay. I mean, I'll call it that. Now, okay. So there's one couple, it was a couple that left. They were there for many years and, no money, no place to go. They sent them, from what I can remember, to their home congregation, wherever that would be. Well, go there and the brothers locally will help you. And they gave them $1,200. Well, at least they gave them something. But think about it. Well, what would $1,200? You've been somewhere for 30, 40 years. So they give you his $1,200, brother and sister. Go ahead and have a good time on it.
That's one month's rent.
I'll tell you, how about 1 week? In the town I live in, it'd be 1 week's rent. All right. So they send you, I mean, geez, you could hardly get you couldn't probably get airline tickets back to where you were. What are you going to do? Thumb back? So thank you, Watchtower. Then they also give, I guess, quite a few people $300 to leave. What's $300? For goodness sakes, you'd have a hard time even living for a week on that. So, I mean, this is what is going on. Is this a loving organization? No. So, but I think about that couple. I'm not going to say I'm crying over it. I mean, if a person wanted to go and give their total loyalty to an organization, then maybe I'm not going to say they deserve what they got. I'm not going to say that. But I think about it even with myself. If I didn't break away and start doing the things I wanted to do, then I had no one to blame but myself. And a lot of PMOs now are in a position. Now, many could leave. Now, I don't want you to say Rick Farron told me to get out. There are extenuating reasons why you cannot leave. But if all of a sudden all those that could leave and you did it all at once, it would be the biggest mass exodus ever in the history of Jehovah's Witnesses, because I'm saying it's close to, or maybe even more than 4 million PMOs. Now, there's some PMOs you can't go. Maybe you're working for a Jehovah's Witness employer. Now, you tell your employer that you're no longer a witness, or they find out you're not, they'll fire you. They're not supposed to. That's discrimination, but you'll get fired. I know a man that they tried to do that to. He was working for me, and he was a Jehovah's Witness, and he got disfellowshipped. And the presiding overseer called me the very next day that he was disfellowshipped, and he said to me, Brother Farron, I was still a witness at the time. He says, Brother Farron, Paul was disfellowshipped and he works for you. I says, yeah. And what are you going to do about it? The presiding overseer of Paul's congregation is telling me, what am I going to do about it? I said, I'm going to do nothing. He's a good worker. He does an excellent job for me. He makes the company money. I'm not going to fire him. And you can do that. In the world of the witnesses, you do have a right. I mean, they're not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. That could bring a lawsuit against them, right, for discrimination. But they really highly suggest, if you got a person working for you and he's one of Jehovah's Witnesses, or she, one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and they're just fellowship, it's kind of like spread around, get rid of them. You don't want them. That's cruel. That is cruel. This Watchtower organization, that's why we talk about it. We've been doing it for 20 years. That's why we do it. These people have to be exposed. And I wanted to bring something up here tonight that really is a big story. And maybe a lot of people have missed it. Maybe some of the forums have missed it. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about it tonight, because I think this is one of the biggest stories going on. It really shows you how scandalous and how corrupt the Watchtower is. Let me just get to the right story here. Just give me a second. All right. So anyways, this has to do, and we talked about it about less than a year ago. And you guys heard it. You all know about it. You know, the Jehovah's Witnesses have set up a asset firm, a company in Ireland that invests rich Jehovah's Witnesses money. We've all heard of that, right? It's an Irish asset firm, and they're going to direct rich witnesses how to make money with this. Now, I heard something just came across a few days ago. This is I'm reading this right from an Irish newspaper. It would be equal to the Wall Street Journal here in America. So we have two directors of this Jehovah's Witness asset firm that's going to invest your money. Two directors this week, they were on LinkedIn. You know that is a Microsoft platform with LinkedIn. I'm sorry, not LinkedIn, but LinkedIn, where people get in and they write certain things. It's like a little business platform that you can use, and a lot of business people use it. Well, this week, two of the offices, high-ranking offices of this asset firm for the Jehovah's Witnesses, took their LinkedIn account and changed it. They were saying up till just this week that the Irish government authorized the Jehovah's Witnesses to set up and certified them to get assets from witnesses and invest them. For friends, it's a scam. It's a scandal. I'm going to give you more information on this because you'll find it very fascinating. So according to the Irish Independent, that's where I'm getting the information. That, again, is equal to the Wall Street Journal here in America. Now, the asset company, the firm the Jehovah's Witnesses set up to invest rich Jehovah's Witnesses money, they call it Mina Asset Management, M-I-N-A. And it's understood, according to the newspaper article here, it's understood that the firm, Mina, provides services solely to Jehovah's Witnesses. So that's a little bit of information I did not know. I thought this Jehovah's Witness asset firm would take on all clients, but evidently they're just kind of peddling their goods, so to speak, to rich, wealthy Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, the Central Bank of Ireland confirmed, I'm reading it right from the newspaper. The Central Bank confirmed that Mina Asset Management is not authorized by the Central Bank of Ireland. Oh, wait 1 minute. This is a big question mark. This is a big question mark. Friends, if you're going to be working as a fiduciary, in other words, taking people's money and telling them you're going to invest it and make the money, you have to be certified. You just can't, put a shingle on your building and say that I'm an asset management firm. You're going to be certified by the government, and they got to make sure that you're legit. And you're not some scam artist that the Watchtower evidently appears to be here. So the Mina Asset Management's chief executive, let me give you his name, the chief executive, the head guy of the Mina Asset Management Company. His name is, and he's called an officer, his name is Nolan Vengadasamy. He's evidently an Indian man, and I take it that he's one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Maybe not, but his name is Nolan Vengadasamy. That's his name. And he worked as a trader in an African stock market. So, this guy's got some financial understanding. So this Vengadasamy is working as the chief head of this Watchtower business in Ireland. Now, the guy that's in charge the second man in charge, the deputy chief executive, his name is Tobias Brolet. Tobias Brolet. Now, he has a doctor degree. He's referred to here as Dr. Tobias Brolet. Now, let me tell you something. I checked it out today as I was going through the news. If you're going to be a doctor of finance, first of all, you're going to have to go to at least 4 years of college. 4 years of college, plus when you get out, you're going to have to still go to more college. You have more degrees you're going to have to get. So to become a doctor of finance, you need, from what I could see there, at least 8 years and perhaps even 10 to 12. All right. So there's a whole lot of college there. Now, up till now, they did not want any of the witnesses to go to college, but here they have a Dr. Tobias Brolet that is a doctor of finance, and he is a lecturer. Now, get this Dr. Brolet, he's a lecturer at International University of Applied Science in Germany. So here's not only is he a college graduate with a doctorate degree in finance, But now we also learn he's a lecturer. He's a lecturer at a university, something the Watchtower up until 2 weeks ago totally condemned. So, I'm reading this and I'm saying, are you for real? So now we also learn this Dr. Brulette. He has been a volunteer senior treasury specialist with the Jehovah's Witness organization since 2009. So this guy, I'm going to tell you right now, is one of Jehovah's Witnesses. He was in their treasury department. They're categorizing him as a treasury specialist here in the article. So where is this all leading to? So like I say, on the LinkedIn platform, that's where business people, kind of communicate with each other, like Facebook, but it's only like business people. So on that platform, just this week, they took down these two officers of the Minor Asset Management Company. They took down that they were authorized and sanctioned by the Central Bank of Ireland. So they have something to hide. They didn't want people they were telling a lie. They were never sanctioned. So both of their statements that they made were removed from LinkedIn. So let's just stop here. I don't want you to get confused, but I got to give you my thoughts on this. If you are one of Jehovah's Witnesses and you are a wealthy Jehovah's Witness and you are listening to this program tonight, or if you are a PMO listening to this program tonight, go and tell your wealthy Jehovah's Witness relative or friend, if they put money in this group, you better get it out. I'm serious. And I'm not just saying that, but the Irish Independent newspaper is saying it. They're telling the people that, this is an offense. What the Watchtower has done here, not being sanctioned in the country of Ireland, and basically taking people's money and investing it, this is an offense. This is illegal to provide regulated financial service or to claim to be a regulated financial service provider without the appropriate authorization. So they needed, in order to collect people's money, to be an asset management firm, you have to be sanctioned, authorized by the government in which you would be setting this up, which in this case is Ireland. So I'm just saying, tell your relative, or if you put money in this, get it out now. That this might be the biggest scam going the Watchtower ever has committed. This is fraudulent behavior. And I mean, they wanted all of us, right, to be so honest. Pay all your taxes. Make sure you wear your seatbelt. Don't go over the speed limit. And here they are fraudulently collecting people's money in Ireland and thinking they can get away with it. The Watchtower, they think they're above the law. Really? Well, we have Jehovah on our side, and Jehovah lets us do this. They could give two hoots of beans about the laws of any place. So the central bank in Ireland right now, as we speak, is issuing warnings to the public regarding unauthorized firms that are operating in Ireland. And one of those unauthorized firms, you guessed it, is Minor Asset Management Company, owned by the Watchtower. Now, these firms are often, according to the paper, according to what the Independent is saying here, that's the newspaper, these firms, or those firms, are often being used to deceive the public and to defraud them. This is no suggestion, however, that Minor Asset Management is engaged in any, this saying here that they are engaged. They're suggesting they are engaged in this if they're not certified, and they are not certified. So you have to go and connect with what's being said here. They are not certified, so they really don't. I suppose you can I mean, Joe Blow, I could tell you folks here listening to me tonight, hey, folks, I got a good deal for you. I really do. Why don't you send me, if you get $1,000, send me the $1,000. I'll tell you what, I'll get you back 1,200 in 2 weeks. Now, I might be able to do that as maybe, well, that's Rick. We'll invest the money. I might be able to do that, but you can't set up a firm doing that and claiming that the government is actually sanctioning you to do it. So this is how I'm getting this. This is what's coming across in my way of reasoning. They are operating in a way they should not be operating. Now, let me just tell you, this group, the Irish, the minor group in Ireland has been talking about this. Started out with some heavy hitters. When they started this group, and you're going to notice a name here. He was a heavy hitter. When they started this, they had to get the right people. So the former chief risk officer at a Swiss bank, the banking giant in Europe, it's big. It's as big as Bank of America here, Chase Bank. In Europe, it's UBS. That's the bank in Europe that's huge. And one of the chief officers of risk management. He was trying to save the money without them going into too much risk. But the band's name, who really got involved in the beginning with this minor asset firm, is Jody Jadell. Oh, Jody Jadell. Oh, that name sounds familiar. Friends, he's the newest governing body member. So if you don't think Watchtower, I mean, this guy, first of all, to be a governing body member, you really have to be anointed. I mean, is Jody Jadell? I mean, if you're an anointed witness, you're really supposed to be putting kingdom interests first. You're really supposed to be engaged in theocratic activity that's going to further God's kingdom. So is Jody Jadell, who was a big-time banker in Europe, and now, of course, on the governing body, was he putting Jehovah's interests first? The answer to that is no. Now, I'm going to tell you how Watchtower gets away with all of this, because you're probably listening in here right now, and you're saying, how is it this fraudulent company can get away with this? Well, if you ever checked, and you can check it online, the Watchtower organization has over 200 corporations. Now, you want to talk about confusion. And I mean, there's experts working in the government, the Security Exchange Commission, the FBI, the Department of Justice has all kinds of agencies that investigate financial fraud. And, but when you take and you start manipulating and, well, this company owns that company, and this corporation really isn't the corporation that you think it is. And this is the game the Watchtower has been playing for years. And it's the same thing they've done here with the minor asset management company, because we did some research on it this week. My wife, Susan, worked on this. So first of all, to make things really confusing is basically what you got when the minor asset management company was set up. They had companies underneath it. Okay, companies underneath it. So I'll just name 3 of them so you don't get confused. But the firms, there were 3 firms for minor asset management company, minor treasury service, and the Lepter payment solution. So this makes it so hard when you have, governmental financial agents trying to trace money where it's going. This has always been you probably ever watched that show? Let's see, it's on CNBC. I can't even think of the show right now, but it shows all the corrupt financial instances that take place in the world today. But America, this show particularly talks about. But I wanted to bring this up tonight because what you have here is an organization that's telling you now they say you can go to school. But here we have an organization that got very intelligent people running their firm, highly educated people. We have an organization telling you, do not put your treasures in this world, But yet we have an organization that has a financial management company. We're having an organization that's telling you to, be so honest, and Jehovah's watching us. And you want to make sure if you're going to get in the new system, you got to be really, really straight laced. And here they are pulling this type of stuff. I mean, how could you possibly be one of Jehovah's Witnesses today? Susan, what do you think?
Well, when we were looking over this article, what really got me was they said, where did they have billions in assets. Where did they get the billions in assets to set up this country? Do you know where they did? Guess what? They said Jehovah's Witnesses go to door and get contributions, and that's where the money comes from. You just set up this corporation.
Well, I'll tell you what, Susan, it's very, I don't know why it's really not being reported all over YouTube. I'm sure someone's reported on it. If not, I'm sure there's some, I'm sure there's some on it. I've seen some I've seen some from a couple of weeks ago, and now this is right up to spec here. Friends, and again, well, why would I even bring this out? Do you know what it would be like losing a lot of money? Do you understand what that could do?
They have no recourse because they're not licensed in Ireland. If, let's say, someone did lose a lot of money, let's say $200,000-$300,000, they would have no recourse, no legal recourse to get their money back because they're not legal. That would just be like handing your neighbor $200,000 or $300,000 and say, "Hey, see what you can do."
Yeah. So, so we have to look at. I want to first of all stress this, and I'm going to continue to stress it. First of all, not all Jehovah's Witnesses are poor. I mean, I knew many poor Jehovah's Witnesses, but you also have to understand there's many rich Jehovah's Witnesses. I mean, there's way more poor, believe me. But what you have here is an organization that is preying. They're predators at this point. They're preying, I'm sure, on witnesses that got a few extra bucks. Hey, and word's going to spread around. You might not even have to advertise that. Word's going to spread around. Hey, Brother Farron, you got a few bucks here. There's a firm run by the Watchtower. You know how honest they are. They've got Jehovah on their side. I mean, he must know how to invest money. Jehovah's with them. I mean, that's the type of stuff you'd probably hear. In the meantime, you could be whistling Dixie. You could be whistling Dixie. Well, what if this organization is in bigger financial trouble than we think? Well, what if they went bankrupt tomorrow? You'd lose it all. Tell your friends, rich witnesses, tell them this is not good. This is not good. Well, let's open up the lines. What do you think? What do you think? Would you invest any money in Minor, the asset company, the Watchtower? What do you guys think? I mean, you heard the story, but I have to say this.
I think it's extremely highly illegal what they're doing. I mean, that God is not with that group at all. That God wouldn't even do such things. I mean, how could they claim to be God's organization and then knowingly run businesses in countries that they're not even registered in or licensed in or whatever? I mean, how do they figure that Jehovah's helping them? How is he helping them? He's not.
Well, Donald, you're a smart guy. I mean, you do. You carry yourself well. I'm going to throw something on the table here to you, okay? All right, so Donald wants to open up a little car dealership where you live. I think you live in Texas, right?
Yeah, Beaumont, Texas. Donald.
Right. So Donald's going to go out and he's going to open up a car dealership in Texas. So he says, well, I'm going to just put some cars out in the lot and sell it. I'm not going to get my license. I could care less about it.
I'm not going to pay my taxes.
I'm not going to report anything. I'm just going to do it. That's it. So all of a sudden, the authorities come in and poor Donald gets slapped. Okay. Now all of a sudden he's in trouble. So, Sage, it's kind of bothering my conscience now. I'm going to go to the elders. I'm going to go to the elders and tell them what I did. It just bothered me. So you go to the elders and you say, look, I shouldn't have done it, but in a moment of not thinking, I did it. and I started selling cars. I don't even have a license. And so the authorities arrested me. Well, what do you think to do to you, Donald? Well, what would the elders do to you?
Probably disfellowship me.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what they do, because it'd say that's bringing reproach upon Jehovah. But here we have.
But yeah, they're doing it simple. They're bringing reproach on Jehovah themselves.
Yeah. Well, this is the game they play. Everything. It's the word is hypocrite. I mean, let's bring this word in. A hypocrite is, tell everybody what to do, but you're not doing what you're telling people to do. That's hypocritical. That's what the Watchtower is doing right now. Yes.
It's a little bit deeper than that, too. You wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it, but they would. And here's one I learned from a comic book. It's a little bit witty and a little bit funny, but it's very true. The comic book said, "Oh, we work for God." Well, what does GOD stand for? Gold, oil, and diamonds.
Well, I like that, Pixie. I like that a lot. Yeah, we like that. Susan likes that. Oh, you're pretty good with that stuff, Pixie. You read a lot, huh? You're on Pixie. Okay. I'm just saying that, she must read a lot. She comes up with some interesting things. Okay. So, all right. So you heard about would you invest? Really, forget the money. Forget the money, because I'll tell you what, even though yes, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Stephen real quick. No, I absolutely wouldn't. And by us knowing the history of this organization, we have all heard the horror stories of people who got into any kind of financial issue, and Watchtower never helped them. I think Dan has talked about being swindled out of money. I remember Brother Borgie talking about being swindled out of money, and Watchtower at the local level did nothing. So if you think you could invest a bunch of money with this company and lose your shirt, and that, they're Jehovah's organization, they're going to help me out, they're going to give me my money back or whatever.
The conference has been unlocked.
They haven't done it in the past. They certainly are not going to do it in the future. So if you invest money in Watchtower, you're going to lose everything, and you're not going to be able to do anything about it.
Well, I'll tell you what, in fact, even though, we probably never invested like some rich Jehovah's Witnesses would in their financial company here, their asset company, but we all invested a lot of time, just on the record, Stephen. I mean, I know you're listening here tonight, but, all the time that you put in being one of Jehovah's Witnesses, time you could have been out working, time you could have got some overtime, time you could have even picked up a side gig job or something. Just roughly, how much money do you think you lost because of being a loyal Jehovah's Witness?
I'm sure we probably lost anywhere $300,000-$400,000 easy. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. And I had a side business, and I'd get contracts, and I'd have to turn things down because it's going to take more time. Instead of looking at it as, well, take the time, do what you have to do, then you have that little money and you set that to the side and use that when you get older. So we didn't take advantage of it. So yeah, we've all lost thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on what your subject expertise is. Yeah, and we gave that to Watchtower, and at the end of the day, we get nothing back. It is a failed investment, the worst investment you can make.
Oh, good. I'm glad you said that, because I would have put it in the hundreds of thousands too. And when I was living in Florida, I lived there 10 years, and I tell you, I had a sign company. You guys know I'm in the sign business, right? So anyways, there was a church. A church needed a sign. And so I made a sign for the church, but it was kind of like, a third party involved. I wasn't dealing with the church. I was dealing with a guy that wanted to buy the sign for the church. So I made him I needed the money. I had 5 kids. I got mortgage to pay. I got bills to pay. So I took the job on. But I'm saying, geez, I really hope that the witnesses don't find out that I sold a sign to a church. My God, I'll be in for a judicial committee hearing here. So anyways, what happened is, sure enough, sure enough, one of the sisters in the hall went by, and then she called me on the phone. She says, Rick, I heard that you made a sign for the church. She said, how could you do such a thing? I said, well, wait a minute. You don't have the whole story. I said, I didn't deal directly with the church. A man came to my sign company and wanted to buy a sign. What am I supposed to say? No, I can't make his sign because it's Christendom. So I mean, this, and I wouldn't take jobs. And I remember even, like even political signs. That's a big thing. When there's an election, you got the president, you got legislators, you got senators, and I could make so much money making political signs, and screen printing them. But I really couldn't do that because the witnesses would say that's nationalistic. You'd be called on the carpet. I don't know how much money I lost. I don't know how much I lost, Stephen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when you talk about the hypocrisy, like you just mentioned, Watchtower will tell us after we built buildings that we paid for, they take it from us, sell it, they become churches over and over and over again. And I just saw on TikTok, it came up and it said a Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall, former Kingdom Hall, is now a cigar bar. And then the guy went inside and he took pictures, and you could just tell, if you're a witness, you could just tell this was a Kingdom Hall, and you can see the seating area. Then he turned back to the second school, and they had made the second school into a humidor. And it just, even my old circuit assembly, they sold directly to a church. The hypocrisy, I have no words for it. How it's always, when you do it, it's wrong. You can't make a sign for a church, but Watchtower has no problem taking a Kingdom Hall and selling it to a church.
Yeah, the reason why they do that,
no bounds.
The reason why they do that, of course, is because they claim, well, they don't actually say it, but they act like they're above everybody else. Yes. So we are God's spokespeople. We speak for God, so we can do what we want. But you little folks, if we catch you selling to a church or making signs to the church, you will be disfellowshipped. It's almost like, they do what they don't want you to do. They do the very things that, it's kind of like the leader of North Korea. He has stuff in his possession that is illegal to have in his country, but he has it because he's the leader. For example, he watches foreign movies. He watches American movies and stuff. But if a North Korean were caught watching an American movie, they'd be slapped in a prison so fast their head would spin.
That's true.
Well, it's
But Watchtower can do it because they're Watchtower, because they are above. They claim to be above everybody else. But what they don't realize is that the Almighty is watching them, and He knows the crookedness that they're up to. He knows everything they think, everything they do, everything they say, every bit of money they've collected and stole. He knows all about the lives that they've ruined. He knows all of it. So if they think they're hiding stuff, not from the Almighty, they're not.
Well, good comment, Donald. Hey, listen, we had Dick Borgie. Did Dick Borgie want to come back? I saw the Borgie on there. Did you want to come back, Dick? Or Constance? I saw you on the board here. If you want to come back, come on back. But I'll tell you, it's a fascinating subject when you stop and think about it. And you know what? And then they mess with your mind. What these high control groups do is they mess your mind up big time. Because I remember I had a daughter, and she was a pioneer. So all of a sudden, she gets this job at a smoke shop. So she says, Dad, she says, I'm pioneering. Isn't it great? I got a job at the smoke shop. I says, gee, I think there's some issues with that. I read it in the Watchtower that, you really shouldn't be handing cigarettes out. So the position that the Watchtower took on this, if you were the manager and you were the one that was responsible for ordering the cigarettes, that you couldn't take that job. But if you worked at a smoke shop, or say even like a market basket type place where you buy food and they sell cigarettes, if you weren't the manager and you were just handing the pack of Marlboro to the customer, that would be okay.
But one time you couldn't do that.
Yeah, one time you couldn't, Susan. They They even changed that. But see, what they do is, how can you make sense out of nonsense? But we all seem to do it. We all went along with whatever they said. It's crazy. Okay. Yes, Dan.
Yeah, one of the things that happened to me was working on Saturday. It was so funny. Every job I went into, and most of them were 6 days a week. They were 10 hours a day and 6 days a week. And I remember going in, telling them, I can't work Saturday because of field service. So I lost some really great jobs. My last job, I didn't leave. It had a lot of traveling in it, and I just took the heat from the elders and the brothers and stuff like that. But I want to say this, Rick. You've said it before on your show. The way you know Watchtower's next move, and other people have said this, is to know that they're a corporation, not a religion. They're a corporation pretending they're a religion. But if you can actually see them as a corporation first, you know their next move. I mean, that's why they give so much instruction, so the people will follow. Oh, we got more instruction to give you. Oh, we've got to change. Oh, we've got a letter to read. Oh, we've got new information. So they're always giving instruction to the sheep so that the sheep can be guided. And they guide the sheep where they want them to go. If they want them to build more halls, they say, Jehovah said, we got a special meeting. Well, the people are already in alignment with that. When governing body speaks, everybody listens. When the letter comes in, when the special letter comes in, when the whatever comes in, the people are trained. Okay, let's see what Jehovah wants now. What Jehovah needs an offering. Jehovah's going to build a new building over here. So if you look at them like a corporation looks at them just as people. And I'll say a herd in this case because it's a cult and they're sheep and they're penned. But basically they don't look at them as, there's nothing to do with religion. They're just people. They're building buildings. They're selling buildings. They're in the real estate business. They're taking people's assets now. They're telling people to tithe online. They're taking their homes when they're retirement. We're hearing all kinds of people that, that are losing their homes. They go back to their moms and, we just gave everything to Watchtower. And so Watchtower, when I look at them as a corporation, yes, they're going to be investing. I mean, look at the way that, like you said, Rick, how many corporations do they have now? Did you say 27?
Over 200.
You see, they're a corporation. They're thinking this is what we're doing with our money. We're going to bury it here. We're going to bury it there. When we get sued, we're going to have it all buried. We're going to have it all tied up. So they're thinking just like a corporation. So the truth of it is, Rick, like you've always say, they're bleeding. They're losing people. And Rick, you should take a look on TikTok. There's so many people coming out. I'm going to tell you, there's a circuit overseer on there. He says, I'm a circuit overseer and I'm ready to talk. So I'm going to look him up. But there are literally thousands of people on TikTok I've never seen before that are coming out of there. So the only reason they're changing any of this, as a corporation, like you've always said, Rick, they've got to stop the bleeding. We've got to stop the bleeding. Give them their damn pantsuits. Let them wear a beard. Let them go to school, for God's sakes. Let them, these are meetings they have. These are corporate meetings that they go into to think, what can we salvage the crew? It's like a workforce that's walking off. How do we salvage the crew? Okay, let's give them a little raise. Let's give them a little bump. Let's give them a little piece of the company. Let's, do this or do that. But like you've said so many times, Rick, they will do whatever. We can expect anything. We can expect Christmas. It once was pagan, but it's not really pagan, is it, brothers? Thanksgiving, hey, it's just a time of giving. What was once pagan isn't pagan. So they're going to do whatever it takes. And if we just sit back and think of them like a corporation, we'll know their next move and their next move. It'll be not even a surprise to us.
Would it be all right if what would be interesting is if the Watchtower got so desperate, to the point that they actually started using women as elders. Ooh. That would be interesting.
That would be. That would be. Hey, Rick, I just want to back up about the sign thing. Just crazy to me that I just heard you say that, you could work in, say, a shop store where they sold smokes and whatnot. And if you can go ahead and do that so long as you didn't buy them, but yet you cannot sell to a third party person of a church a sign. You know, it's like the only thing I can think of where that makes any sense at all is that the person at the grocery store is not going to be making very much money, and they're barely going to survive, you know, having that job. But you, as a business owner, oh, you're going to make out really well, and you might become bigger than they want you to be. So there's an opportunity to shut you down. But none of it makes any sense. It's utter, total hypocrisy. And I think it's funny that Jesus talked a lot about hypocrisy. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites. That's what he said all the time.
You know, and too, Rick, could you even work at a grocery store that sold lottery tickets? Could you? It's gambling, right? Can you pass a pack of cigarettes? Could you really work in a grocery store when they used to, or a little party store where you're handing cigarettes? You know, you'd have to.
And
remember,
think about it. And remember this year, if you were a nurse, they told you couldn't even hang the bag of blood. Remember that?
Oh gosh.
Didn't know that.
Oh, you guys didn't hear about that?
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, geez.
That was it. Rick will tell you that was a big thing. I think at the beginning of the year or beginning of last year, if you were a nurse and you were dealing with a blood transfusion, you're not supposed to even hang the bag.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
Well, I'll tell you, there's plenty of people listening to this program, and I know one man's listening here. He might even weigh in here, but I'll tell you, he had an opportunity to work for a defense plant, really, and make really good money. But they made nuclear warhead. I mean, he could have made tremendous money, but you couldn't take a job like that. You couldn't. And all the people this organization has hurt. It's more than sad. It's evil. It's horrifying what they would do.
Yeah.
That's just nuts.
And you know, Rick, can I just tell you a quick story? I just want to tell you a quick story. This just happened, I think, just Thursday. There's a YouTuber named Jerron. Many of us probably know who he is, but he did an awesome video, and I've just been dying to relate it. He mentioned how he got a call that morning from a buddy of his in Texas, who I believe I know. And he was saying, long story short, his buddy in Texas, his mom, who was a long-term witness, and I do believe I know who she is, she has officially now started questioning the organization. I personally believe it does have, in fact, to do with this reversal on college, but her exact words were, "I no longer trust the judgment of the society." And so we think that she's on her way to waking up. So I just wanted to relate that.
Well, thank you, Stefan. No, I'll tell you what, that's what we like to hear. That's why we do the program. That's why you guys call in. You know, we have to. It's almost like a duty. If you're in a restaurant and someone starts choking, geez, you're going to try to give them the Heimlich way of getting that food out of his mouth or whatever. You're going to do what you can. Yep. It's the same way that we feel here. You know, we're just not trying to beat up an organization. We have to expose it so other people don't get involved with it. Thank all of you guys that call in, though. Really, yeah.
And this is the thing about it. If this person is who I think this person is, this is a very high-profile person. This is going to be quite a blow to that congregation because, you know, Watchtower can say whatever they want to say, but when people start leaving, I keep saying this, and I don't know what the actual term is, but if you're in a room and you see a person leave, and then another person leaves, and then another person leaves, your mind is naturally going to go and say, why are those people leaving? What do they know that I don't know? And very few people can have the willpower to turn that kind of thing off because it also begins to kind of question your intelligence. Well, why would I sit here, when the house is on fire, when everybody else is leaving? No, I need to get the hell out of here too. And so that's going to make people curious. Well, why did this person leave? What is it that they know that I don't know? So when enough people start doing that, especially people that were well respected, Jehovah's Witnesses know the fly-by-night people. We always know there's some people in there that's a little mentally off. But when you have a well-grounded person, well-rounded person, it's been there for decades, always faithful, and then they leave, there's a reason.
Hey,
People,
well,
like I said, they're not gonna-
you're right on with that stuff, and I'll tell you. Hey, let's bring in Michael. Let's I believe it's Maverick from London. Let's bring Maverick, and we haven't heard from Maverick. Hello, Maverick.
Hi, Rick. Yeah, I've got one for you as well. It's like everyone seems to be waking up right now, which is fantastic. And I have a friend, a really good friend I knew before I left, and he backed off from me when I left. And now he bumped into another friend of mine who's a PMO, who has maintained his friendship with me throughout the last 13 years since I've left.
Come a little closer to your phone, Maverick. We can't hear you too good. Come up a little louder. Come closer.
Is that better? Is that better?
That's better. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so I have an elder friend who's at an absolutely bona fide PMO now. He's fully awake. I spent the whole of last Saturday in his company with another friend of mine, and we just spent the whole day talking, and he was complaining and seriously disillusioned with the organization. And I said to him, what do you now want to do? He said, I'm still an elder. I'm not going to change anything right now. It's kind of serving him quite well right now to stay as an elder because he doesn't have anyone breathing down his neck. He says, I'm more in control now being an elder. No one's really bothering me because I'm an elder. And he's got circumstances which he can't talk about, he said, which makes it very difficult for him to leave completely. Because I asked him if he's going to step down as an elder. And he said, no, right now he hasn't made any plans. He's taking one day at a time. But I heard him talking. I was absolutely shocked, Rick. He said it has changed so much because he knew when I left, and since you've left, which has only been just over a decade, really, it's changed beyond comprehension. I said, yeah, I know. I've been keeping up with it. And he said, I said, what about the young people in your congregation? And he said, they're just switched off now. They are switched off, Rick. They apparently texting each other and messaging each other during the meeting saying that brother doesn't know what he's talking about, and so on and so on. And this brother is a fully awake elder now. So another example, just like Stefan mentioned one, there's another one for you. So I just wanted to say that too. So I'm going to be there for him now, and hopefully we'll stay in touch. And it's another example.
Well, thank you. That made my night. I like to hear that.
I have one, Rick.
In fact, I want to go to, okay, yes, in fact, come on, Joe. Yes, let's bring Joe in from Colorado.
I have one. This was about 2 years ago because I was still an emergency room technician. And there was she used to be a pioneer in the congregation, and she married an elder in Denver. Well, they were helping her dad, and he had a full-blown stroke. And I actually served with him in one of the elder bodies I was in. But I had to get the bed out to the ambulance bay. We put him on, and I'm not violating HIPAA. You're not going to know who he is. We took him in. I put 2 IVs to EKG. We did everything. Got him, of course, got him to CT. Well, anyway, the house supervisor sent me to lunch, and everything was done. They were just waiting for some of the scans to come back. And Stacy and her husband were eating lunch. They were pretty stressed out. Now, she's a pioneer. He's an elder out of Denver. And they started talking to me. I was sitting nearby, and I thought, wow, this was 2 years ago. And they started to talk to me, and I said, Stacy, I'm disfellowshipped. And she said, we know that. And lo and behold, she tells me she is no longer a pioneer. And her husband, I don't like the term stepping down, because that makes them elders like they're in an elevated position. He stopped serving as an elder. And so I said, is it okay if I ask why? Well, what happened was one of his nieces, who was, I don't know if she was baptized or not, was molested by somebody in the congregation in Denver. And of course, he did not agree with the way the elders handled it. It was another congregation, and he was another elder that was an elder for many years, did not understand the 2-witness rule until it affects a family member. And I've seen that before. But, before they left, they went back to the emergency room. I told them, I said, please do me a favor. Look up the Royal Commission, Jeffrey Jackson. Please do that. I said, all I'm asking is that you research that. And then I also told them,
I said, research the fact that the Watchtower was part of the United Nations. And that shocked them both. They didn't know about that either. So I just wanted to share that. I haven't made contact with them, but I'm sure they're either out or they're PMOs. Thank you, Rick.
Well, Joe, so you got a really good phone, by the way. You're coming so nice and clear. It's like you're in the other room. Good job. Always good to hear from you, Joe. Really, I mean that sincerely. You're a good guy. Really, we appreciate you coming in. Thank you. Okay. Hey, things are happening here. I want to bring something up here tonight that I believe that most people find this fascinating. Now, Dan was on earlier, Dan Clark and Angela. And of course, you know the issues they face with their relatives, and even to this day, they're still faced with that. You know, what's keeping these witnesses gung-ho about everything? They're seeing all of these changes, but they're still being very loyal, many of them. But I'm thinking, they really can't. Well, one thing that really brought the organization more members in and kept it more close-knit was when they would mention years. And of course, 1975, 1914, 1925, all of these years, things were pretty prosperous. But the Watchtower isn't going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. They made too many stakes on it. So now, all of a sudden, this is what I hear. Now, don't take this to the bank and cash it. But this is what I heard. Some information came into the 6 screens this week that kind of got me thinking a little bit. So what's being said here is that in September, beginning September 8th through the 14th, there's going to be, they're not calling it a special talk, but they're talking, a talk is going to be given, evidently in the Kingdom Halls around at least this country, from what I can see. And they're talking about this coming global economic crisis. They're talking about an economic collapse coming up in September. Now, well, let me just explain this. We just talked about the asset firm, Mina, that the Jehovah's Witnesses have. So it's kind of like fighting against its own self here. But the Watchtower works in many strange ways. But so all of a sudden now they're going to be talking about this coming economic collapse. Now, what that does, we can't talk about Armageddon's coming, but because, people are going to nail them on that one. So you got to talk about, bring something really catastrophic into the picture, which the Watchtower is doing. And what that does is it gets the witnesses thinking, geez, things are getting bad. I guess Armageddon's right around the corner. So it gets them thinking. You can't give them always positive news, can you? You gotta bring some crisis in. And remember Ron Manuel, the mayor of Chicago. He's the one that coined the statement, "Don't let a good crisis go to waste." And of course, the Watchtower, they can make a crisis. The Watchtower has made a crisis. So they're saying here, evidently starting September 8th through the 14th, there's going to be talks given on how we're entering a period where we're going to see a lot of financial instability and something's going to happen economically. So this has got the witnesses now on their tiptoes. Oh, something must be happening. So this is what the Watchtower does. They got to create these crises. Dan, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to agree, Rick. That's one of the things that they're doing. The other thing that they're doing, okay, so again, you're thinking like a corporation, right? The sheep are scattering, the sheep are talking, the sheep are leaving one by one. So what do you tell them? You tell them the boogeyman's out there. You tell them the wolves are out there all over the place. What they're doing right now with the Watchtower, and my uncle told me this, he's still heavily in. He's the guy that wanted me to come on a little Zoom and go to the meeting with him. He said, right now, Danny, persecution is going to come upon our people. That's how he talks. And so they're telling them intense persecution, like the last few assemblies that we went to. They were showing brothers being locked up. So what do you do when there's persecution? You join together. You're saying, hey, man, don't veer off now. We're in the very end of the end. It's persecution time. Jehovah said the persecution would come first. So you're right, Rick. The crisis of the big fall, the big collapse, you join together, you pull together, stay in the group. Don't get out of the group. There's safety in the group. and there is some safety in a group. But the truth of it is, they're using that crisis, and they're using the crisis, the false crisis of persecution. I just wondered where my uncle got that. I know he talks a lot about the climate clock, but now he's talking very seriously about the persecution that's going to come. But again, you're the corporate, you have your meeting, we got to keep them together, fear. Just like you're saying, Rick, fear of a collapse, fear of this, right?
Yeah. Well, you know what? In fact, I'm listening to you and I'm really saying, wow, that's, you really nailed it. That was a very good comment you made there. But that's exactly what they're doing. You got to keep the people together. And really, when there is time, you see it on TV. You see a tornado goes through a neighborhood. You might have not even had neighbors ever talk to each other. But all of a sudden, they're all outside picking up pieces of their house, and they're all talking. It brings people together. In times of disaster or crisis or difficulty, people do come together. So the Watchtower knows every trick in the book. They know every trick in the book, and they're going to do it. They're going to pull it, and they're going to get people, oh, we better stay close to Jehovah. Things are going to happen, Yeah. Well, excellent.
I learned a new word this week.
Yeah, what's the word, Pixie?
Never heard it before, never saw it in a news story. Accelerationist cult.
Can you give us a definition of an accelerationist cult?
Accelerationist, and it's like Nero fiddled when Rome burnt. It's like people that are gleeful when something is failing or falling down.
Well, that's interesting. Are the witnesses gleeful because of that? I guess they are, right?
Well, kind of, sort of. And the source of this was FBI paragraphs about different cults. And I had never heard of accelerationist cults, but they're cults that work to bring it down.
Well, you got me thinking on that. I like the term. I really do. I like the term.
You know what it sounds like? It was new to me.
That word, can I say what I think it sounds like? Remember when they were running the drills in the halls, when they were turning on the fire alarms and asking everybody if they had their gold packs? That sounds like accelerated cult. Like, let's get things moving. Let's get them thinking about this. Let's get them thinking about, persecution. Let's get them thinking about the big fall. They're accelerating everything. You remember they were saying, gotta watch the governing body. They're like the Merkaba. They're going up. They're going sideways. They're going backwards. You got to hold on tight. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what Gilbert has to say. Always, I like Gilbert's narratives here. Gilbert, I'm ready. Come on.
Are you ready, Rick? Are you ready? Are you really ready?
I'm ready. I'm looking at the screen here. Yep.
Yeah. Well, the sad thing is, according to some of the experts right now, it's already started, and the writing is already on the wall. Kind of like in the Babylonian, the letters on the Babylonian wall. I remember years ago, Rick, when I used to tease you and I used to tell you that Jehovah was going to have a Jehovah coin crypto.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yes.
Yeah. So what happens is there's a couple things happening, and I'll tell you right now about the crypto. Donald Trump said that the government is not going to have a central bank digital currency, which is crypto. But Chase Manhattan Bank, Walmart, Amazon, they can. Watchtower can do a Jehovah coin. And they use these false terms called stable. You've heard of these phrases called stable coins. So what happens is basically what you're witnessing before your very eyes is a transfer of wealth. All of the governments are bankrupt. Everyone's bankrupt. And one of the things that they're going to start doing is that they're going to increase the wars, because that's what you do when a country is bankrupt. You have to go to war because your currency has been totally debased. And so one of the things that Watchtower can do, and I wouldn't be surprised, is if they start, I joke about it, but it's calling it like they're not going to call it a Jehovah coin, but they're going to start asking people, hey, in order for you to keep your money safe in a stable coin, a stable crypto, you could bring it over here to Watchtower. And that's what's happening right now. There's the news is intense. I'll give you a couple of one. Spirit Airlines just declared bankruptcy today. Donald Trump fired that lady who was giving him false, bad reports, job numbers. Well, come to find out that Fannie and Freddie are giving bad numbers, which means all of the banks are sitting on all of these homes where millions of people are not making payments on. So why? Because they're trying to keep the bubble of the houses super high. In Texas, there's a group of people. I did a video on it. $5 trillion of debt from the schools. You know what that means? That means if you live in Texas, for example, in Travis County, your school district borrowed $250,000 on top of your house, and they call it a bond. All of these things are a house of cards, and it's going to fall. And people are going to look for safety. And this is where it's called the transfer of wealth. Watchtower is going to be in there, like you saw with these, like you were talking earlier. They're going to try to get you to take the money out of your account, leave it with Watchtower. Now, they could lose the money like everybody else, but they can also hide the money, unlike you and I can hide it. See, like you and I can hide money. We can dig a hole in the ground, and the Watchtower will hide it somewhere else. But that's what's going to happen, and we're witnessing right now. And listen, this is already the problem is that in America, Americans have never lived through this. My brother Jesse and I lived through this in 1992 in Mexico. All of our relatives in Mexico. You wake up one morning and 3 zeros are taken out of your checking account. You wake up in the morning and you have a new peso, January 1st, 1992. So this is called a reset. You've heard of this many times. It's called a monetary reset. It's a transfer of wealth. And it's already starting, and everybody's talking about it all over YouTube. I call it apostates, YouTube apostates, because you'll never see them on MSNBC. You'll never see them on CNN or Fox News. But so I really think this is why you gave a very important point. Don't give Watchtower your money, because that is a transfer of wealth. Watchtower is going to use this situation to steal money, and they're going to call it a stable coin, something safe. And it's not safe. It's the exact opposite. That's just my opinion.
It's a good opinion, but you got me thinking here, Gilbert, because I'll tell you something. So in view of what you said, just said, so I see something that would kind of solidify or add credibility to what you just said, and that is the price of gold. When you have a shaky economy or doom and gloom on the horizon, gold is going to increase. Now, gold right now, in fact, I read an article just yesterday about gold, Bank of America. They're now saying that gold could hit 35, I believe it was. It's around 34 right now, but it could even go higher than that. So it's going up. It's the highest it's ever been. So a shaky, schizophrenic type economy would make gold go up. Am I correct?
Correct. And also, Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, and other people have been floating this idea where, because Franklin Delano Roosevelt did it, you wake up one morning and Donald Trump tells the whole nation, in order to keep our books balanced, we're going to value gold at $20,000, because right now it's valued at $1 in the balance sheet of the United States Federal Reserve, in the United States Federal balance sheet, because they haven't changed it since 1940 something. So the point is you wake up one morning and everything, the whole world changes. So yeah, you have a possibility where gold can go from $3,500 an ounce today to $20,000 overnight because you're bankrupt, and you have to. This is why Donald Trump and Elon Musk were talking about, do we have the gold in Fort Knox? See, all of these things now, it's kind of all making sense, because everybody knows that the United States dollar is worth less. Every day it loses value. And a perfect example of that is real simple. Gold and silver always remains the same. If you have 4 quarters today, you cannot buy a chocolate bar. But if those 4 quarters were 1963, when Kennedy was president, you could buy a case of chocolate bars, because silver is always money. And it just so happens that the year they put a bullet in Kennedy's head was the year they took silver out of the monetary system. These are things Watchtower doesn't teach you. They do this on purpose. And then when the fear comes and they start scaring everybody, people are going to say, well, I need to put my money in a safe place, like Bitcoin or stable coins. It's all these fancy words. And Watchtower will come up with a word, they'll come up with a program, but all it really is just to take the money that belongs in your purse and change it to another purse. And I keep telling everybody, Solomon talked about this in Proverbs chapter 1, verse 14, that you got to stay away from people that say, let's put our money together. It's a criminal enterprise, and Watchtower is going to start doing that. Mark my words. And your purse is going to be stolen right from underneath you. The Bible is very clear on this. Everyone needs to have their own purse in their own possession, and you should not share purses.
Can I participate here?
Go ahead, King of Dots.
Well,
go ahead. Yep.
Yeah. First of all, I'm going to say Gilbert is so articulate. I have nothing but praise for him. I really appreciate it. I will tell you this. I've just been put in possession and under orders from my dad. He had a valuable precious metal stuff going on. But I will so I'm looking to see what I do, hold on to it longer or buyers. And I realize when you own gold, you don't own nothing because you're under that threat of it's going to go higher. It's going to go higher. So you just hold on to it until suddenly it won't be worth nothing. You should have sold it. Okay. And so I'm looking at that prospect because my dad told me he almost died, but he didn't die. And now he's resurrected again at 93 to distribute among the kids. We got a situation because one of the kids is an elder in Jehovah's Witnesses, my younger brother, who I converted. And I've been personally requested by a couple of the kids. He hasn't visited Dad for almost 2 years. And he just suddenly announced, we moving to California today. We're gone. And they requested me, he needs to be cut out of all the inheritance, period. And so I said, yeah, that's exactly what I got a request from the Catholic kids. I said, well, it appears he resigned from our family, and I'm not going to put it any other way. What are you going to say, Gilbert? Go ahead.
No, I wanted to emphasize the point, Rick, that when it comes to gold and silver, it's not about making money, and it's real simple. You have to understand this. In the Bible, God gave Jesus gold when he was a baby to his parents, and the reason why is because they were going to try to kill Jesus.
You mean the three kings or what?
No, the three wise kings brought Jesus gold. But here's the point, and this is what people don't understand. Gold and silver is not there to make you rich. It's there to preserve life in a time of crisis. Now, Rick, you have seen that picture of the airplane leaving Afghanistan, and everybody's running with the big old military plane, and they're trying to get on board the plane while the plane is moving. But if you just picture this, if you picture an hour before that, you were to go to the sergeant at arms, and you were to shake his hand, and he looks in his hand, and he sees that you have a gold coin, that you gave him a gold coin. My money says that you're going to be on that plane to America. And that's what the whole movie Casablanca is about. The whole point about having gold and silver is not that you're going to get rich. It's that you're going to be able to preserve life. That's all. So that's all you have to think. So how much gold and silver should everybody have? Well, it depends on how many children you have, how many people are in your circle, your life, because it's there to preserve life.
On most coins, it says from the United States, in God we trust. So I think that's good enough for me.
No, you understand? See, because we trust in God. We trust in God because of this. Jesus Christ made silver. He actually created gold, silver. He's a maker. Here's the point I'm trying to make. When George Washington was a president, he bought a saddle for his horse for $20. Well, when Franklin Delano Roosevelt was a president, that $20 could still buy you a saddle for a horse. Today, that $20 coin can buy you a used car. The point I'm trying to make is that gold will always be there to save you in time of distress. And so you have to look at it from that perspective. But there's always people like the money changers, like Watchtower, telling you guys they're legal gold.
For goods. The problem is exchanging it for goods. If a coin's worth $4,000, I mean, I rarely buy something worth $4,000. I'm going to comment. You know.
Well, let's bring Zachary in. Zachary, let's bring Zachary in here. Zachary, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I did. I kind of, on this, I think I have to agree with Gilbert. When he says that the purpose is to preserve life, you can think of it also as this way. When you have gold and even silver, one day it can buy this much stuff. And 50 years from now, it can still buy this much stuff. When you compare to the dollar over 50 years, $1 can buy this much stuff today, but in 50 years, you might need $50 to buy the same stuff. So one purpose that people use gold for is to preserve their wealth. They, you don't lose value as much as you do with fiat money, like
well, when you go to sell it, Zachary, if you go to a dealer and sell it, they're going to take a surcharge. It could be 5 or 10%. So you got to keep that in mind. I mean,
you understand that when you have regular money and it just sits, it loses in value. When it just sits, and you've got inflation. Inflation will eat it up, but not so much with gold. Here's another interesting thing about gold and comparing it to silver. In the past, what the gold was as a multiple of the price of silver, it used to be maybe 12 or 15 or maybe even 50 times as much as silver, an ounce of gold compared to an ounce of silver. But now gold is like 100 times what an ounce of silver is, because an ounce of gold, Rick, as you just said, $3,500 an ounce, roughly. And silver is about.
It's 10 times. It's 10 times.
No. Silver is about 37 today. My brother, come on, let me finish, please. Silver's about $35 an ounce. I'm rounding. $35 an ounce for silver, and about $3,500 an ounce for gold. So there's I think of it as a vacuum. It would be interesting for people to look at that. 3 weeks ago, I told my barber, you know something, if you have difficulty saving and you're doing this Cash App thing, I said, and you can buy partial things, I said, do the same amount every week. If it's just $5 a week in silver, do that every week. It's better than buying a lottery ticket. All right,
well,
I read.
I want to tell you, I'm so sorry I interrupted you there.
That's okay.
This is the thing I've discussed with the family, taking all my dad's precious metals and cashing them in and putting them into an interest-bearing account for 5 years to accumulate more. And then after that time, if people need the money, I will distribute it out to them.
You mentioned cutting out one of your brothers. I don't think that's a good idea to cut.
I don't think this is the time to cash out your chips.
Yeah,
exactly.
You're probably right. That's why I'm trying to think about it. I mean,
if you have real estate, let me just channel here for a second. Pixie sees all, knows all.
I need Pixie.
If you have real estate, this is the time to sell your extra real estate.
Yeah.
If you have gold and silver, this is the time to hold it. The fact that the tariffs were canceled saved us all from tremendous Weimar-like inflation.
In October, until the Supreme Court rules in October, So I actually feel the way you do, but I like to get all multiple
views. This is not a feeling, sir. This is research, and that's all I'm going to say.
Well,
the channel has gone cold now.
You just shoot straight, don't you?
What she just said.
But I will tell you, my brother, I've been requested by Catholic family members, honestly Catholic, practicing Catholics, that Randy be cut out. And my brother Randy, he's an elder. He's a jackass, actually. I don't know why they put him an elder. They should just put him jackass. Anyway, he moved to Sacramento. No notice to anybody till the day he did it. But I told everybody, it appears to me he's officially resigned from the family. He couldn't care less about my dad. I mean, crazy. It's not a good witness, trust me. I don't think people understand how people in other religions view witnesses, and I'm getting a full-scale vision of that, Witnesses.
But it seems like
Hey, we gotta wait. There's a call that
you may find yourself in some trouble.
we got a caller that wants to come in from Delaware.
Trouble, dude. My middle name is Trouble. Go for it.
Hey, let's bring Delaware in. Is that you? Newcastle, Delaware. Go ahead, then. You, Aaron? Who's that? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, Rick. This is Aaron calling in. I just I was listening to y'all talking, and I was listening to what Gilbert was saying about gold and silver. Gilbert's been talking to me every now and then and he's been sending me different videos to watch online and everything. So yeah, it's cool that we have that communication going. But Gilbert's awake as much as any of us is, and I love what he was saying earlier. Talking about precious metals. And well, me personally, I've been involved in the precious metal space since 2017. I bought my first ounce of gold at about $1,280 an ounce, something like that, at about July of 2017. And of course now it's worth $3,400 as of yesterday. So I mean, Gilbert hit the nail on the head when he said, gold preserves your wealth. It's not about investing or making money or any of that yield. I mean, although if you really want to look back at the last 25 years, gold has kept up more so with, yield than any other investment, really, especially when you talk about the 60-40 portfolio.
Zachary said that gold preserves your wealth.
Yeah, so I mean, that's what I like. Personally, I like gold. I like silver. I also like the mining sector. So that's what I'm interested in. So just want to comment on that.
Well, thank you, Aaron, for coming in. Good to hear from you again. Always good to hear from you. And that's good. I know that this is a subject that suits your fancy. I've heard you talk about that before. You're a knowledgeable man too, Aaron. Well, keep up the good work. Thanks for calling in. Appreciate it. Well, anyways, folks, why don't we go to the game? You want to go to the game? Let's see if some people can win some cash. Go ahead.
Rick, just a quick thought. I think the program that you were alluding to was called American Greed. It features Ponzi schemes and so forth. I just want the audience to remember, going back about 15 years ago, the Watchtower was asking brothers to send money to the Watchtower, and then when you want to get it back, you can. So a lot of brothers, they send checks for $10,000, $20,000 to the Watchtower, and then when they tried to get the money back, they got a letter from the Watchtower saying, you should have counted the cost. So if that's a forerunner of the way the Watchtower does business, I think you're right. Pull all your money out of the Watchtower. Any investment that the Watchtower has, you should be pulling your money out of it, because they're very, very dishonest. And I like the fact about selling Kingdom Halls. They have pictures of brothers, elders, shaking hands with the new owners of the Kingdom Hall, like in Drake, Massachusetts, where we went at one time. And they've got elders shaking hands with the elders of another congregation. And you can't even sell a sign on a third party to a church. The hypocrisy is really unbelievable. But again, just to reiterate, if you lent the Watchtower money 15 years ago and you wanted to get it back, they would tell you no. They would just send you a letter, and that's just how diabolical these people are. And you know what? They get $7 billion. You think they're going to go to those witnesses that sent them money and pay them back? No way. And what can you do? You can't take your brother to court. So you're really screwed. In a little bit better word. Thank you, Rick.
Well, Dick, thank you for saying that. In fact, I thought you'd weigh in on that. And you know, the thing is, they call that a conditional loan. And we talked about that even a couple of years ago. I remember here on the 6 screens, people were calling in that lent them money. So what they do, from what I can remember, one woman was telling us that I guess she gave the money, you know, on this conditional loan. I mean, at one time I even thought about it. I was doing pretty good and had a few extra dollars. I says, okay, fine. If I give it to him, it's like putting money in the bank. I could get it back. But not so fast on that. I remember, I believe there was a woman that said it, that she lent them money. And then when she went to get them back from the Watchtower, they gave her like, well, do you really need it, sister? I mean, really, you know, Jehovah's organization is growing. And, you know, if you really, really needed it, we'd help you a little bit here with it. But, you know, Jehovah needs it more than you is basically what he was saying. And, you know, you'd be out of your money because it'd make you feel so guilty taking it back. You know, you okay, I'm going to get my 5,000 back, but I feel so bad about it. Geez, maybe I'll call them and tell them to forget it. That's how they do it. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's like I said at my speech at the event that you had, Rick, recently. Watchtower is the excrement of Satan, is what it is.
Yeah. Boy, now that's pretty low, Don. I mean, I haven't heard of that. That's as low as you can get, right? Good. Well, that's good. That's exactly what it is.
They are dirty, conniving thieves. Is what they
Well, I'm glad. I'll tell you what. I'm glad. I'm looking at numbers here. I see so many people coming in tonight. That's telling me something. This is telling me something. People are leaving. There's people listening in right now. Don't you get nervous over all of this. We're trying to help you. We're not here to hurt you. We've got a lot of people listening to this program tonight. This is where ex-Jehovah's Witnesses come to talk. And this is like a community. This is more than an audience. People come here to talk and share experiences right here on the 6 screens. And they've been doing it for just about 20 years right now. So let's keep it up. It's a great thing to have a community like this where at least we can share our thoughts. Hey, let's go to the game. Let's see if some people can win some money. Here's how the game is played. It's a trivia game, otherwise known as the duck game, if you would. But what we'll do is this. We're going to ask you a trivia question. Now, this is the honor system. You got to go on the honor system. I want you to keep score. Now, if you get a question right, you're going to get 1 point. Sometimes it might give you 2. Now, if you save those points up, you're on the honor system. You keep track of how many points you can win a prize. You get 5 points. You can get a magnet. If you get 7 or 8 points, anything over 5, in fact, make it even 6, I'll give you a nice book. I got a number of books here that Jim Hill, a good friend, we know him as Nathan Natus. This book right here, Susan was reading it to you last week, The Desolation of the Sanctuary. If you want to hear some pretty crazy stuff in the Watchtower, there's a great book to have. And we give you this, or the Millions Now Living book. We got a number of books. And also what I got here, hold that, Susan. I've got T-shirts here. Now look at, we had that convention. Now I got these are great T-shirts, friends. They cost me $15 a piece. I'm not kidding. And then that's wholesale. I'm feeling this T-shirt. There it is right there. The Still Alive 2025 Jehovah's Witness Convention with the date. On the back, Boston, the apostate capital of the world. I got a bunch of these left. What I'm going to do is I'm even going to give, if you get 10 points, I'll give you one of these shirts. This is going to be a collector's item. Or if you even want to buy one, I'll tell you what I'll do. If someone wants one of these collector item shirts, I'll give you 2. Just give me a donation. I'm not going to tell you how much. I'll get you 2 shirts. Tell me what size you want, and I'll send it to you but at least cover the cost of shipping. It's going to be about $10 to ship it. So, make a donation, go to 6 Screens of the Watchtower. Make any donation. I don't care what it is, $5. Well, make at least 10 for the shipping. $10, 15, $20. I will give you 2 of these shirts. You'll love these shirts. They're really good quality. All right. So that's it. You can win a book. You can win a t-shirt, but the first person to get 12 points can win $100 in cash. I'll mail you out a check and you'll be all set. So let's check it out. Let's ask some questions tonight. You're on the honor system. Let's see what you know about the Watchtower. Let's see how you feel about it. Okay. All right. Let's go with this. All right, friends. The world headquarters. Now, here's how it works. You do not answer. I want you to first of all, pick a number at random, 1 to 100. And when I say go, the first person that shoots a number out at me, I can hear that rather than everybody going, it's me, it's me, it's me. Just pick a number, okay? So anyways, here's what we do. Here's the question. Shoot a number out after I say go. Okay, the new world headquarters, as we know, it's not really that new anymore, but it's up in Warwick, New York. What county is Warwick, New York in? Go. One's all I hear. Go ahead, Zach.
I really don't know. Tuxedo?
No, that's the town next to it. But we're looking for the county. Anyone want to take a shot? I'll give you an idea. It's a fruit.
Ready? Orange County?
Who said that?
Right.
That was Aaron.
Aaron, take a point, okay? Take a point, okay? All right.
Thank you. I got you.
All right. Let's go to the next question here. All right. This is a fairly easy one. All right. Who was Judge Rutherford's driving school instructor?
One.
No, I just did that to throw you guys off. Who would know that?
One.
Who would know that? One. Go ahead, Zach. Weisenheimer. Yeah. All right. There you go. All right. Well, this is a fairly easy one right here. All right. Okay. We know that Jehovah's Witnesses get disfellowshipped. Lately, they're just calling them, they're removed. Can you tell me if you're not disfellowshipped, what's the second worst offense that could happen to you in a judicial committee hearing? Go.
One.
I'm going to go with the scissor. Zach, you jumped out before I even stopped with the 1, so I'm going to disqualify you. So there was a sister. Was that you, Nadine?
It is. Are you asking what's the word? Okay, from disfellowship.
Well, we know that we know that if you're called into the back room and you disfellowship, that's pretty bad. So what's the second worst thing that can happen to you?
Public reproof.
You got it. Take it, Nadine. You got it. Well, how many points you got now?
I had 8. So now I have 9.
You have 9. Like you're on your way to $100. You're on your way to $100. All right.
Yay.
All right. Everyone should know this one. Well, we know that Charles Taze Russell was from Pennsylvania, right? We all know that. So who can tell me what county in Pennsylvania was he from? Go.
One.
Zach, go ahead.
Allegheny County.
You got it, Zach. You got to know. You got it. That's Allegheny County. Yep. All right. If you're a Jehovah's Witness, they have their own pure language. They speak their own language. If you're talking to a witness and says they're going to a JC meeting, what would that be? Go.
I mean, Ken. Sorry, Ken.
You never said, oh, did you say go?
I just said, Nadine,
I heard 10 before I heard go.
you did?
I know, but then I said it again after he said go.
Committee.
Well, we can't answer, Aaron. You just said it. Well, I'm sorry, but Aaron just said it. It's a judicial committee. Judicial committee. All right. All right, Nadine, sorry. Sorry.
That's what I was going to say, Aaron.
All right. All right.
Sorry, Nadine, I got.
Aaron,
The rules, does everybody know they have to say a number?
gotta say a number. Yep.
Okay, you're right. I'm disqualified. You're right. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's all right.
All right. All right. Here we go. Here's another one. What was the large Jehovah's Witness complex in Wallkill, New York, originally called? Go. What was the large Jehovah's Witness complex in Wallkill originally called? Well, I'll tell you what it's called now. Go ahead, Zach.
I don't know. Watchtower Farm.
Yeah, I know Kingdom Farms. Well, you should, I can't give it to you. It's Kingdom Farms, but it's close. It's Kingdom Farms. That's what they called it. All right. All right.
I heard when I was there, they referred to, there was Watchtower Farm, and then there was another place called Kingdom Farm. That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, the answer here is Kingdom Farms. All right. Here's another question for you. What popular cartoon program were Jehovah's Witness children not allowed to watch in the 80s and early 90s? Go.
Oh, sorry, you didn't say go. Sorry.
I heard another sister on that. What was the number?
5.
Oh, hold on one second. I heard a sister. Did you say 6? Who was that? Is that you, Donnie?
Yeah.
All right, Donnie. What?
Donnie, yeah.
Well, what program?
I'm good. The Simpsons.
No, that's interesting you say that. That's interesting you say that.
5.
That they
5.
10.
7.
did I hear it? I like 85. I heard 85. It was nice and clear. 85. Go ahead.
Yeah, the Smurfs.
The Smurfs. You got it, Aaron.
Oh, yeah.
This, yeah. Now the Simpsons. Yeah, the Simpsons. They.
Speaking of Smurfs, guys, I looked this up on ChatGPT yesterday.
You realize they're damaging your health? 8 hours a day, that's way too much on that thing. Bad for your eyes, bad for your brain, bad for your health in general. Causes mental illness.
Yeah, I was speaking of the Smurfs. I was looking at something on ChatGPT yesterday.
You won't listen. You're addicted to that crazy thing.
I was looking at something on ChatGPT yesterday, and I was looking up the different cartoons that had purple characters, and one of them was actually the Smurfs. They actually had, I've never seen it, but supposedly they had purple Smurfs.
Oh.
All right, let's go to the next question. Let me go back to it. Let me find it again. All right, I like this question. Hold on one second. Okay, here's the question. How does the Watchtower describe the divorce of Charles Taze Russell from his wife, Maria? Now, do they say it was a divorce or do they say something else? Go.
Oh, sorry.
6.
Well, actually, what happens? Actually, jump the gun again. Let's go to Donnie in London. Go ahead, Donnie.
I think they called it an annulment because that they only lived just like a brother and sister in the first place or something like that together.
Well, it wasn't an annulment, but then I would have thought that too, Donnie. Go ahead with 9. Let's try 9. Go ahead.
But I said 1 before 9.
I thought they called it a separation.
Boy, I'll tell you what, I got to give that to you, Thomas. I've got to give that to you. It's a separation from bed and breakfast. Now, I mean, that's a wacko term, right? So you
There's no breakfast in bed anymore.
that's I never did get that, but I remember reading that. It was actually in the Watchtower. I don't know, back then around when they had that. It was a divorce, but they didn't want to call it that. So they call it, I'll tell you, I'd like to know where these guys come up with these crazy thoughts, but a separation from bed and breakfast. I always scratch my head on that one. I mean, just call it a divorce. A marriage removal. Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. All right. Let's take a look. All right. Let's do this. Okay. We know about the Rutherford Rainbow, right? Judge Rutherford, he wrote a number of books. He really did. And he had them in really brilliant colors. I've got a good many of them here. And it's like a rainbow on the bookshelf. But I want you, can someone give me, if someone can give me 5 books that Judge Rutherford wrote, I'm going to send you one of these T-shirts. I'm going to break down and send you a T-shirt. If someone can give me 5 books that Judge Rutherford wrote, you're going to get a T-shirt.
82.
82. That's you, Aaron?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. I got The Harp of God, Deliverance, Creation, Reconciliation, and Government.
You got it. What size T-shirt do you take?
Extra large.
I got it. And now what you want to do is send your address to me at jwworldnews@gmail.com. I'll get you give me the address. Try to do it the next day or so, because I got a couple of shirts going out to some other people. I can get them all out at once. So you got it. Okay. I'm going to, in fact, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, Aaron. Give me this here, Susan. I've got these here. These are official. This is the official program of the Still Alive in 2025 convention that we had up here in Boston just a month ago. So I got some of these left. Hold on to this. I mean, if the ex-witness world ever continues to expand and there's more of these conventions, this is the very first one. And it might someday be, Gilbert was talking about gold earlier, and Zach, and how it could be preservation of funds. Maybe this could be it. Maybe this could be a collector's item. So by all means, I'm going to send one of these to you as well with that T-shirt, Aaron. You deserve this. I only got a few of these left, so I'm gonna give you this. This is good. It's got all the talks in here that we had at the convention. I think it's about a 7-page booklet. All right, so that's good. All right, let's ask one more question and get your address off to me, and try to do it the next before Tuesday, because I'm going to the post office and I'm going to get this stuff mailed off. I got a shirt. Jim, if you're listening, Jim Hill, I got a shirt for you. I got some things I want to send you. So if Jim's listening, you're going to get the shirt too. It's going out of here. It's going out of here. In fact, I just had everything in boxes. I came from the convention. I had a hard time even finding all this stuff. I didn't know what it was. I don't know if I put it in my business or put it in my house here, but I found it all so I can get the stuff sent out. Okay, one more question, and then that will be it. And we all should know this. We know who the first president of the Watchtower is. Well, let's go with this. He was a prosperous Pittsburgh businessman. Who was he? Go.
1, 8, 9.
1. Go ahead, Jack.
Charles Taze Russell.
You got to be kidding me. I thought Donnie. Go ahead, Donnie.
Who had a habit?
Conley. I think his first name was it William?
You got it. I'm going to give you 2 points, Donnie, for that. You got, well, it was, if someone can give me his middle name, if someone can give me William Conley's middle name, I'll give you 2 points.
1.
Go ahead, Zach.
I have no idea. H.
Herbert.
Oh boy, I'll tell you, it's an H. It's an H. Go ahead, someone take a shot. You got a clue. It's William H. Conley.
Homer.
No,
Hubert.
no.
Henry.
Donnie, you got Henry. I'm giving you. I'm gonna give you. It's William Henry Conley. Boy, Donnie, you're quite the girl out there. I mean, it's late at night out there.
I think I'm going to.
It's
I'm
late.
going to go on your website. I'm going to. Sorry.
It's kind of late out there. What time is it in England right now?
Oh, I don't know. I need my glasses on. 3:00 in the morning.
Look at how sharp you are. 3:00 in the morning. I'd be half asleep. My goodness, but you're answering like a trooper. All right, good. Take.
I'm going to go on your. I'm going to buy one of your T-shirts on your website, and then I'm going to wear it outside the next assembly.
Well, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about that. I've worn it. I said, gee, this is a nice shirt. I wore it to work a couple of days, and people were asking me. I was in the market basket. What's on your shirt? Still alive in 2025. And then you get a chance to tell them. I get a chance to tell the people about Jehovah's Witnesses. So that's good. All right. Well, let's end it there. I hate to have the program come to an end. You guys have all been great tonight. I really want to thank you all for coming into the 6 screens. I want you, there's no 6 screens Sunday tomorrow. It's next Sunday. It's every other week. But I want you guys to always stand tall. Don't ever give up, in or out. I like to say, never let your visions die. And the last one, leaving the Watchtower, please turn off the new light. We'll be back next Saturday with Anne Marie. So we're looking forward to that at 6:00 next Saturday night. Thank you very much for being with us and spending the time with us tonight. We all had fun. I did. I hope you guys did as well. Thank you very much. Good night now.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.